Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. A couple hours to go on a Tuesday afternoon here as we continue to chop around. There's a lot to digest and consider this afternoon, including the fact that I was just noticing both the 30-year and the 10-year up more than 3% each on the day today. So we're back above 4% in both cases, 4.3 right now for the 30-year, 4.07 for the 10-year. So big bounce back to the upside after, remember, to end last week going into the long weekend, we had back-to-back days of significant downside. So a bit of a bounce for yields, bit of a bounce for the US dollar today, showing all kinds of strength. So a little bit of pressure from that side of things as well on equities as we head into the final 2 hours. Remember some action in the airline industry this afternoon. If you missed it, the Save, Spirit Airlines, and JetBlue deal gets squashed, not happening. JetBlue has come out commenting on this, saying they obviously disagree with the court ruling blocking the Spirit merger, considering next steps going forward from, again, that was JetBlue talking about Spirit. We also had bank earnings this morning from Goldman Sachs, more bank earnings from Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. This one a little bit more positive than Morgan Stanley. If you remember, both of them were higher early on in the pre-market. They got sold off into the open. Goldman came out right at 9:30 with their call. Didn't really get that much of a reaction from that, tested that low again, then it's been nothing but basically higher or positive on the day, at least to the tune of about 0.15%. Overall though, yeah, the bank's pretty red right across the board. Look at MS there, 5% now downside coming off their report and earnings call. BAC 2.05 under pressure, JP Morgan 1.4 after they reported back on Friday. We'll get Schwab, I think it's coming up tomorrow morning. As well, down 1.5% here going into earnings. NVIDIA and AMD, the big ones today. It's all about AI coming out of CES last week. We got a whole bunch of new products from either or, lots of positive comments from lots of analysts over the weekend on AI as well. So AMD 7% right now, was a lot higher than that, up more than 8% at one point today. There's Apple having a bit of a difficult day as well, 1.8%. We'll talk about China coming up here when it comes to Apple. Netflix 2% downside, Meta 1.4, Microsoft and Google holding on to there or thereabouts, break even or so. If you're with us in the first couple of hours this morning, or first hour anyway, I wanted to show this real quick. Yeah, Save hasn't really done much since got back above 7. It's holding around 7.5 right now, but decent bounce. Huge volume behind that. It was down more than 60%. There it is. Yeah, AMD, the leader today when it comes to semiconductors with AI in the future. So why don't we talk about chips here, guys, because that has been the theme of the day.
Right there, because chips is it, man. Yeah, my mic's not even turned on.
We can't look. We cannot have an entire day without a muted mic up in here. This is how it's literally part of our. It's in the contract, man. It is what it is. We got to do it every now and then.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's too bad. We'll get the position board going here in a minute, but we're short AMD $3 in the money. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about. Kept trying to get everyone's attention in the midday show, but I guess they're on one over there. Look at this, 156 and change. Nice move right there.
It's probably
back
it, I don't actually...
it's a nice short back for that. We haven't touched anything. Oh, we still got Intel. Remember I told you guys, Intel and Affirm, like two of my favorite stocks. Intel just, again, like these setups here for me are the absolute best. You know you want to short this name. It runs up into a level that is screaming there for you. It doesn't take it out. It's close. 25s, right? Like that was close. So we are close to getting stopped out. And when we have like a 5-cent stop and we're now in the money 60, 70 cents, it's worth it. We took a piece out there. We took a lot out at VWAP. Intel definitely working. AMD definitely working as well. Remember we said we were going to try to make this back. So almost flat now on AMD to start the day, or to start the day was down. But now after this, almost back to flat with position pending now. So yeah, man, it's been a great day here. It's just, wow. I mean, that was intense there at Advanced Micro Devices. Once, twice, no more, not thrice. I wish it had gone back up there, but pretty easy day there for AMD at the top and for Intel there. But I didn't look at NVIDIA. I don't know if you did.
No, I wasn't looking at NVIDIA today because AMD 151 was the breakout. for me. If we come to the chart, it's pretty simple. Look, if you were trading AMD the last couple of weeks, then you know when it broke out, it got through 150, it turned at 151, it pulled right back in. I actually drew this trend line. It's a really steep one. But just to give an idea, because I want to have this one in there on this little breakout just to see where it goes. Am I going to have got out early? Yeah, sure. It was 151 to 153 for me, and I was pretty bearish overall in the market and did not give this one enough of a chance. But we always talk about, like, where do you get levels from? Why did you like that breakout? This was pretty clear. It was busting a 52-week high. You can see the clean support that came back in the 30s, and then it regained that top. Could not get through. It was a clean breakout through 151. It pretty much never looked back. So we went long at AMD. Could always hold longer, but again, you know my strategy. Typically speaking, on breakout trades, I'm going to have myself a target, and this is definitely a first. I cannot think of one time where I've only been in penny stocks since we've done this show coming into the afternoon, but it is a Funware kind of day.
All right, I was just having a look at some comments here from Fed's Waller. This was earlier on, but it kind of explains what we're seeing in the dollar and kind of explains what we're seeing in some of the yields right now, suggesting that with economic activity in the labor markets in good shape, and if inflation gradually coming down to 2%, again, this is Fed's Waller saying sees no reason to move as quickly on a cut or as rapidly as the markets are pricing in. So suggesting that maybe that March cut that has been priced in gets pushed back a little bit. And I mean, you and I were talking about this going back to the end of last week, you know, with the economy, and we're getting, FYI, a early advanced GDP reading later in the week this week as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But with the economy in the state that it's in, the employment market in the state that it's in, why is there such a rush?
Well, that's the thing, right? GDP came almost 5% last time. The jobs number came in stronger than expected. What's the real driving force here for the Fed, other than the fact that, you know, inflation is coming down? We got Canadian inflation today, and it was a smidge above where we expected it. So we'll have to wait and see what we get, Brendo. But tough day on the market today. Tough few days.
Yeah, I mean, downside again today for Apple as well. We did try to bounce. I mean, it's been not very successful, but I mean, we were talking about 180 coming into play possibly this morning, but we didn't get quite down that far. Still holding around 182.5 here. All eyes on the Vision Pro to come at the end of the month this month.
That's going to be exciting. You got to get this bad boy fitted for $3,500, and that's US, by the way. We'll see what that is in Canadian. But the headline today, Brendo, is something about Apple, which they typically don't do, which is offer discounts on their iPhone. That's specifically in China. It's going to be about $70 off, give or take, about 500 Chinese yuan on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. They're also offering discounts on the Mac and the iPad.
There was a really interesting take I was reading over the weekend. I also heard the same thing in a podcast as well, but the psychology of that aspect of having to go into the store to get it fitted, apparently, and Apple does this with other products as well, and it's one of the reasons that they leave everything plugged in the store so you can actually go and physically hold it and touch it and play with it. And apparently you get a much more positive reaction without even realizing it towards something if it's physically in your hand. So even if you go to the Apple store and take one of their instruction courses or whatever they're called, like they teach you how to use something, they don't touch it. They give it to you and you hold it the whole time, and it's so that you get that attachment to it. So it's interesting when with this $3,500, like people might be saying, like, for that they should bring it to your house and fit it at your house, but they want you to actually go there and feel it and touch it and play with it.
Not to make you feel worse.
All right. Look, we shorted Apple. It's the number one idea. It's going to be the number one P&L name here, Apple, and we crushed it, man. I mean, it was a good one right off the jump. We wait for these negative catalysts, right, on Apple. I mean, unfortunately, it's down 1.8%. It came in. Oh, eventually we got, like, even though we got stopped out of our last trade, as I said, it's still going to be the number one name. But it's a nice move, man, off 183, down. We picked other poisons out to short rather than Apple because it really started to go. But yeah, looking at this 184, I still think it remains a short up there. You just got to find how to get in. So Apple with a nice move, nice recovery today for sure. That bottom at 180, I mean, we had basically the top and the bottom of that move. And then eventually we took it again and took it all out. Like like I said, very small LFT. It's the #1 name. It's Apple. It's Sticky Note Nation. Pretty easy trade today for Apple, man. It's just had to be patient with it. You know, we said we might not get that 183. Well, we got it, and we took advantage of it all the way down there to 182, multiple dollar club. And yeah, just a good name right there. We're going to talk about Microsoft next, but we've just made a little bit of cash there on Softy as well. But hey, man, as the market goes, by the way, you want something that we're not talking about enough. Look at this market short right now on the TQs. So here's the position that we just put on right now. Again, short VWAP at the market. So like Neil said, you know, whether or not we're trading any of that, I've traded Apple, the firm, AMD, Alibaba, Intel, Meta, Softy, Palantir, and now the market. So yeah, man, we're here right now shorting, and so far so good off this TQQ short. By the way, this is like more than 1% in the money. I hope you guys are following. I posted when we took this trade as well all the way up here. So far so good on this one, but Apple, we should still be short. And the firm, by the way, guys, is now $1.50 in the money as well. AFRM starting to head to the downside even further now.
Yes, sir. I didn't actually trade Apple today. I'm not gonna lie to you. We had the 180 level marked off. I thought we were weak enough to get to that 180 bottom today. It just, the market felt like it was going to get Apple there at the morning. It was pretty close. I mean, it got to 181 change, but I was sitting there with a bid to try to catch that 180 more or less all day long. And the good thing about trading is you can wait and be patient for your level. If it doesn't come in, then you don't have to make the trade. Like, obviously, if I went long $1 in front of the level, it would have worked out, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I still think with Apple, we're waiting for that 180 before you look at any longs. That's where daily chart's kind of an issue there. That's where it bounced before, as you can see. And I think that if it's going to bounce, I think that's where it should bounce again if it gets down to that price. So you're locked and loaded. You're patiently waiting for it. As I said, right now I'm in only penny stocks. One of them just came out. Funware. Don't tell me the fun is over with Funware, because oh goodness, yeah, that just rinsed the 30 level. I was trailing the last 10%. Oh goodness, yeah, whatever you're gonna do. It got to that 36 level again of fun. I'm scalping some out of 35. We're holding for the break of 36. It cannot seem to break 36 cents on Funware. But you know what? It might be bouncing again. The last couple of times that this is flush, consolidate long, looked like it wanted to go but didn't go. Flush, consolidate long, that's the one that went, 26 into 36. If it can do it again, and it can actually break this 36 out, why not? It's done 1.1 billion shares worth of volume today. 1.1 billion shares. And it's now bounced twice, 25 cents, then 26 cents, each time going back to the high. Is 30 a charm? I kind of like this 27.50 level. I'll look for another consolidation bottom and then only think the long until it breaks VWAP over here in Funware. But let's get back to the desk, because there's still a few big cap names to talk about.
Raheem is here. Was here. Good to see you. Let's talk about Apple. We talked about that 180 level this morning. We were talking about Apple. I'll be okay.
Okay.
Raheem's distracting me. Microsoft was back to, feels like Monday. Microsoft was back to new highs here in the pre-market this morning. There was a number of, it was almost the exact opposite of what we saw from Apple last week in the sense of relative weakness versus relative strength. Those comments that came over the weekend from the CEO in relation to OpenAI were kind of interesting, saying that they're fine with the stake that they have in Microsoft has in OpenAI as it is, and they're also fine with the structure of the way OpenAI is made up as a nonprofit right now. A lot of people were suggesting that they may try and pressure them into becoming profitable at some point.
Yeah, well, we remember what Sam Altman was doing. He was really looking to accelerate profitability. That all came to the forefront when the whole thing with the board happened. We found out more details about how that company was being run. But specifically today, the headlines for Microsoft are the deal that it inked with Vodafone. It's a 10-year deal slated to be about $1.5 billion. It's going to help Vodafone accelerate the production of its data centers to serve Africa and Europe, Brendo. So we'll have to see how that goes. The other headline was Copilot is going to be available for small business, and it's an AI tool that's supposed to streamline a lot of things, help write letters. I know Josh Brown talks about writing his kids' away letters using AI, which I thought is brilliant.
And even from the Google aspect as well, I think a lot of the higher end or top level AI products are going to be at the enterprise level and not necessarily at the consumer level. So yeah, going to be a big deal. But it was a fade the gap kind of a day, guys, for Microsoft.
It was. And look, Microsoft is red right now, but you have to remember, like, this is a name which has been absolutely flying. Let's go daily chart first. Like, it just broke out on the daily. Obviously, you'd like to see it continue and push to that 400. I mean, 403 was is the next even trillion-dollar level, so I think that could be a bit of a thing. It just has to hold out. Always talk about resistance turning into support, so you had this 390 wick top from last week. Once it pulled back into that level, there's your dip. It holds on. There's your green, and then there's your consolidation long into VWAP. So you try to be patient. Like, it was falling pretty good at the open, but the second it showed that bid at that 390 price, buy in front of previous resistance on breakout trades. Now it gets to VWAP and then makes another push up. I did go long off VWAP, was able to get another. You know, the first move we got a buck. The second move, it didn't quite get that before stopping out under VWAP. So Microsoft has been trend down. Really, if you look at it since the open, like, it made its high at the open, and then it's been essentially trend to the downside. But there were a couple of long opportunities along the way, as it doesn't seem like it wants to hold green. That's why I'm not in it anymore. It feels like it's trending a bit into the downside.
Guys, we have a $3 winner on board right now. We have we have two $3 winners on board. We have a $1.50 on board. We have a 70-cent winner on the futures as well on the TQQ. So if you're not having fun yet, probably in the wrong business. Yeah, we just tried Microsoft right now for the very first time. This was the only long, and it's just funny. Like I said, today's actually a pretty easy day trading if you have the right way, which we've been only short. We talked about being short on everything today, and you can see we have 5 positions short right now. And the only time we tried the long was right now on Microsoft. We thought we liked 389, and 389 was pretty good. The lowest it's gone to is 387.50. Because we're starting to head to the downside, I will try a short here on Microsoft, basically against like 389 if it does rip back up. So I kind of want to try that. I like Microsoft right here. I mean, look at Meta, man. We have this position from the AM. Like, we have the top of the day there. Forget about the first 5 minutes. We have that top, and then right now you're pushing the bottoms of Meta again right now. So, like, this is almost $4. AMD is still $3. Affirm is right here as well, and we still have Intel. Like, we're just cruising with the shorts now. I probably should not have taken that softy, but I really like Microsoft. Let's see if we can short a little bit up here near 89. I keep saying near O's, but near 89, and then we'll see if we can get 69, and then we'll see if we can get that back through. So let's watch out for Microsoft back up there. Since we're talking about that, I have to switch my stock. Here it is right here. So we're looking for 389 to get short back on softy. And then for Meta, I know I was looking at the wrong price. I'm just going to stay short Meta. It's breaking lower. The market's lower. We're still going lower. So yeah, man, short everything. And then if we're lucky enough to get Microsoft short again, we'll try that in front of theirs. That's why I was saying 89. In front of 389 is where we're looking short there on Sir Softy. Is Disney still going
Disney
up?
At the high? Yeah, it is. It just broke the highs again.
Yes, thank God, man. We've talked about traders going in there and trying to buy some Disney up. Yes, $92. Let's go. All right, man. We've told you that we're still trying to watch this Disney and that $90 level. So it is a nice break higher there. The 50 period used to be underneath, man, but because we had some nice moves upside, it's now starting to go. So this is beautiful, man. Maybe we get a nice little Disney break here of 92.50 or something. Let's watch out for Disney. Great move upside there on DIS. It's Mickey Mouse, baby.
Oh, there was news. What was it? It was there. The NFL was potentially nearing a deal with ESPN to take and they would get a stake in ESPN.
Right.
So that was, I knew there was something I read about the whole, when you said Disney, I'm like, I know there's something I read this morning. So if that's going to be it, I mean, Disney's been waiting for a catalyst for a bloody long time now. So Yeah, that 92, it's been resistance for a while. There's not much breaking out right now. So if you're not looking at Funware, Disney looks like a good opportunity at the high of the day.
All right, nice day for Tesla here. We get the gap to the downside. There was a couple of minor secondary headlines for Tesla today, including Elon wanting to own more of the company before he goes and takes over the world with Grok and his own AI. But straight back up here this morning. We did get an early sell-off through pre-market lows, but straight back to the upside here for Tesla today.
Yeah, Elon pounding the desk today, Brenda, or yesterday, saying that in order for him to really move ahead with Tesla's AI development, he's going to need a 25% stake in the company to feel comfortable. Currently, he owns about 13%, amounting to about 411 million shares out of the 3.19 billion that are available for trading. Quote, he says, "I'm uncomfortable growing Tesla to be a leader in AI and robotics without having around 25% control, enough to be influential, but not so much that it can be overturned." Brenda.
I just saw, I guess it was just $8 breaking there. I just saw the Save Spirit Airlines pop back up on a scanner here, but I guess it was just going through $8 there. I don't see anything new.
Is that all? I mean, I guess we'll talk about some Spirit Airlines. There was obviously some action in that stock today. There's no question about it. Bouncing above VWAP. There was a nice bounce play that we were talking about. I actually did give in the midday if you guys were paying attention to Save. It was going absolutely nuts. Tesla, the good thing about, like we always talk about this in trading. Like I was looking for short in the EV names today, and Tesla was just not the one. So fortunately, we're able to sort of sit this one out. Now, obviously, if you can peg the top here, it was a little bit random. It didn't quite get to like that 225 or, this close up here, 226.5. Like that's essentially where I would have been. Like that's the go zone. It got pretty close, but no cigar. But you did get down to 212 and $10 move into 223. But something else broke in the EVs. And it was, obviously I'll get to Nikola and Fisker in a second, but NIO broke that $7 level. And this is the thing about NIO. This $7 level on NIO, you go back to May, you go then 3 separate times in November. I think the last time was actually maybe, right in here. And then like right in the end, middle of December actually. And then you broke it today, right at the open. It took out that $7 level. It was just a flush. Admittedly, you could look at XPeng, you could look at any one of those names in China. The entire sector was pretty much to the downside, but that's the one that broke the even. At a 97 short, I took it all out in front of the 70 level, so pretty clean, about 5-6 cents worth of risk, and then we're able to get it down to that 675. It's still going lower. I think they catch a bid at some point. Maybe $5 is the spot for NIO at some point. I think we could see that. The trend has just been ridiculous. Oh, the other one that's going, just because we're talking EVs right now, Fisker broke the $1 level. You guys remember Fisker in $1? Well, it's the other direction in Fisker today, off the dollar. So it broke $1, then failed $1, shorted each pop. I did miss this reload here at $1, but it's right back into those lows. Some things are shorts until they aren't. And most of these EV names, with the exception of some Tesla strength today, have been pretty darn nasty.
Looking for some more trades. 63.50. I was looking at Uber trying to make its way back up here as we'll talk. Just breaking down Tesla. Tesla had a nice move and still staying. I think Tesla, if you're going to look long, I just don't know about looking long right now. Tesla's been pretty strong off that bottom. All right, I'll have to clean up those wicks. I'll just go over to Tesla now. I can't talk about Uber if you can't see the chart. All right. Look at that bottom, man. 212. Earlier on today, we said that Tesla was going to find a bottom and we wanted to buy some. I said 207. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be 212. I was just down into here. So that today, 212. I have no idea where it's going to go tomorrow. But that 212, 211, that could be something coming on there as well. So that could be something to look at for Tesla as a possible bottom. Like no idea why we bought them there, but we did. Now you're trying to hold above. So I was going to say, if you're going to look for any strength now, I've kind of scratched off Microsoft for that, and I would say you just want to look at Tesla. So again, congratulations. You're going to find out that there was some kind of buying down there. You'll find that out tomorrow. It was probably Kathy Wood or somebody else buying up that Tesla dip. It's gone too far, in my opinion. It's basically about a week and a half ago was 270. Now you're down to 210. Like that's down 20%. It feels overextended to the downside for Tesla. So I would say you want to get in there and buy. And then the ones that, like Neil mentioned there, they're all the rest are pretty sick. Like Rivian was so dirty because it caught a lot of people, as you guys know up here. It trapped, basically cup and handle, give everybody this up there, and then just thought everyone who thought they were getting back to even right there got absolutely destroyed. So right now, I feel like you're now, if you like a name, although I'm not buying any of these EV names. I told you the only one I would look at would be Tesla. But Rivian down, like now I think sub 15, like now I think Rivian into here, 13, 14 could be a buy in this area, just because of what we talked about, Fisker taking out lows, Lucid taking out lows. You're one downgrade away from Rivian coming in tomorrow and breaking this 15, right? We've seen Li Auto, we've seen a bunch of these different names just continue to bloom to the downside, right? Like, look, you take out that bottom, and then now you say for yourself here, where's the next area for Li Auto? 22, 23, maybe, right? So when I look at them all, we could do this for all of them, right? I mean, it's getting boring at some point, of course. But XPEV today, with that, whatever that flying helicopter car thing was, you could see these guys getting absolutely kicked as well. So I honestly, I'm thinking a lot lower. Like if I think this market is about to turn around a little bit to the downside here, these names are not ones I'd like to be in. So you want to be in names that are making money. I guess it's just do your research and figure it out. But right now, EV space seems a little bit weak. We do have a new position right now, and it is one for Microsoft short. And we're getting close to being maybe stopped out of this as we come right back up. Not too much risk here as we're short everything, and now a new position short Microsoft. My out, 389.25 for Softy. So we'll take about 25 cents worth of risk, see what we can do here.
All right, let's go to Boeing. Ugly again today. All the way back to 200 now for Boeing. There was, I believe, 2 separate downgrades and a couple of other negative notes from analysts this morning. On the back of what has happened over the past week and a half here, no real significant developments as far as an investigation or the result thereof, but yeah, 8% again today here for Boeing.
Yeah, we dropped as much today as we dropped the first trading day subsequent to the Alaska Air incident. So that's not really a good look. All right, a couple of reasons why we're moving down, more than a couple, really. Stan Deal, who's the president of Boeing Commercial Airplanes, basically wrote to his employees saying that there's going to be mass inspections of the 737 MAX jets beyond what was already planned, expanding that to 50 different production processes. He's also going to send a team to Spirit Aerosystems. Separately, Boeing has been moving down after multiple analysts downgrade this today, and then midday, Boeing coming out and saying that there's going to be delays for some of the airplanes destined for China, Brendo. We know that's been one of the biggest buyers, and all those are going to be delayed now.
It's worth noting the volume today is the highest since this started as well. I mean, it was decently high the past few days here, 2 or 3 anyway, but you got to go all the way back to October of 2022, guys, for the last time volume was this high on Boeing.
And look, Boeing's in trouble. It's not good. The chart looks disgusting, down 8% today. It's leading the way to the downside. I mean, obviously, look, there's stocks that are not companies that hordes of people invest in that are down more than 8% today. But that's when you start talking about things like Fisker and maybe XPeng. But Boeing down 8% it's just ugly. I wish I could tell you we were short this one. There were a lot of good trading opportunities today, so you can't be angry if you prioritize one over the other, but this feels like a short till it's not situation. Maybe this $200 level is something in the midday. When Shreve was talking about this in the midday, like where's the next level? I'm looking at about 196.5, 197. Like it was a double top. It broke out in a big way from this level. I think if it gets back down there, like 196.5 looks like something, and then maybe the 190 level as well. It's giving its best shot to hold on to 200 today. I just don't think I want this one to long. So funds breaking that $36 level. Sorry, 36 cent level. If Funware goes to $36, I'll eat a pineapple. Actually, no, wait a minute. They're like reverse split or something. This is a bad trail out, but I had the order sitting there. If it trailed, I was going to stop out at the 30 level, and that's what happens to you. But Funware has been giving you longs. Can they actually hold above this 36? The best way to go long here that I've found, since it's gone this parabolic, is to actually wait for those dips and then get in. Like, look for the big dip, find a consolidation. It just never gave you much of a consolidation. So I'm not taking this long here. I'm looking for it to fail it, show me a consolidation level, and then I'll go into it.
All right, I just bought some Funware for fun money. So we'll see what happens. We'll just sit here and wait for it. We're long at 36. Honestly, let's just see what happens here on Funware. Fun money. Okay, what's up, Nimit? What's up, everybody on the chat? I hope everybody's all good, because look what's happening right now. I don't even, like, we could sit here and be like, oh, Funware's doing this, Funware's doing that. But I mean, like here, right here, Microsoft, we're just taking 50 cents right now on this one for the downside. I'm hoping Funware can go up. Let's see right now. But here goes Microsoft. And again, have the ability to switch up your game. Like we just talked about going short there, 389. We did exactly that. We told you sort of the risk that we were putting in. So we'll go 1-to-1 a little bit there, take 40 cents or whatever on the short, because we're risking like 35 cents. So pretty good trade rate here as we continue to make moves to the downside. There goes Microsoft right now. Hopefully we continue, man. $4, well, $3 now in the money, AMD and Meta. I'm a firm $1.70 in the money. That one's really cranking. I have 41.20 written as my Outsia Sharif. 41.20 right there. Meta downside as well, $3 in the money. Looking to get out if we take down. I mean, we'll just do this all ourselves right now. Do I even have a stop? I do not have a stop for Meta right now. So 369.52. We will get out of everything. I mean, we are now leveled up. Like, the net is now infinitely going. We've got Microsoft, Meta, Intel. The TQs continues to go, man. We're actually only have 25% left of this one. Affirm is good. AMD is now $3. Let me find an out for AMD here as we go, because if you guys are riding with it, then you might want to have some outs at some point. Okay, so I was just looking right now at 157, I guess, as an out here. So let's just do that. I mean, we got to get out at some point, right? I mean, this has already been a fantastic day, and like we said, we've already leveled it up. So there it is. We'll wait on fun. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's fun money. Everything else we are going to try to get out of as we go, man. And then Intel's been beautiful. We already got an out here on Intel, so let's just wait for it. A stock that we wish that we were still in a little bit was going to be Palantir to the short side. It's nearing a level that we could possibly have some interest in. All right, we got to go handle some business.
All right, if you haven't done so, take advantage of this. Go right now, grab your copy of Trade Ideas. Bottom right corner of the screen, you'll get 20% off. Scan that QR code. You can take advantage and participate in this brand new trading tournament from Trade Ideas. Grand prize of a $2,400 Amazon gift card. And it's all obviously fake money, so don't worry about that. Go right now, take advantage of that deal. 20% off from us to you for Trade Ideas.
Thank you very much, Brendan. Definitely take advantage of that. Go show them what's up in that contest. We actually have had traders do pretty well in that before. So, look, the market is down 0.5%, but a lot of things are flushing. I didn't mention Nikola on these are crappy EVs going to the downside. We always talk about what's the lowest hanging fruit, a bad stock breaking a big level to the downside or failing a big level. Nikola is, does that look like a good stock? It doesn't really look that good to me. Down 9% today. There is the bottom in December. It was right at 66 cents. So what happened when it got to that price? Got to 66, and then this is 65 cents. Made a wick bottom. Look at the barcode. We're talking about this in the midday show. Look how long it holds 65. It clean breaks 65 even, and is now flushing. Now 63, that is down 10% exactly. It closed exactly at 70 cents. The second it prints underneath the 63-cent level, it is an SSR play. So I will look to take some more out there at the 62 if it makes that breakdown. But a flat bottom break that you could get filled on, Nikola just continued to absolutely die. I wanted to mention, and we'll go into save, but just one note, Palo Alto was trying to get back into VWAP here. I did take that VWAP bounce that we were talking about before we left you guys at 11 o'clock. It bounced. It could not really get past 332, so it was really only worth about $1.50 unless I had held it a little bit longer, showing some signs of waking back up above VWAP. So I am looking only for longs here, so I'll be really picky into a weak market with Palo Alto. But this stock has been in an absolute tear. It hasn't had, look, you guys can see for yourself. I mean, Palo Alto, it's all green the last little bit since it dipped off this 280 and then recently broke a 52-week high. So unless it gets back underneath that 52-week high or shows me a red day, I mean, the trend is going to be your friend when it comes to this name.
I mean, if you're watching the recap show, I got a big shout out to Chris Bretcher. We bought PanW, more of it in our account down here at 230, and he always brings it up as the greatest call of all time. I think he's being a little generous on that. But anyways, that was a great one, man. I mean, that was when we were down here basing out. You got to find good stocks, man. PanW to the moon. A most recent one that we talked about on the podcast again. Make sure you join us live every Saturday morning, baby. Start your weekend off right with the podcast. Brendan and I talked about how we start our Saturday mornings off, and it was with a nice cup of coffee. So listen to both of those and get going on that, the podcast. I added Adobe. I'm already long Adobe, but I was saying that Adobe, I think, could be the next play. And why do I think that? Well, I really like the AI aspect of everything right now. I think we're just at sort of the peak of sort of hypeness right now over the last little cycle. We're going to see with earnings. I think earnings will deliver the hype. You know, everyone's talking AI, and I just think that there's going to be some companies that have put it into their platform and had people use it and pay extra for it and so on and so forth. Microsoft with the Copilot, Adobe as well, and there's going to be some other names that are going to just blow out earnings, in my opinion. I would say the number one name is going to be Microsoft, and then I really, really look for Adobe to keep it going to the upside. So I recently liked Adobe and DocuSign, so those are two names that we like. Microsoft right now, so again, took advantage of that move down, man. We actually got two fills down there at 38.50. So we put two orders there, 200 period, 1-to-1. Now it's coming right back up. Let's be careful with it. Remember, this is the name that we wanted long all day. We took the short because we flipped it over thinking the market could continue its downside move. But right now, the market has no idea what it wants to do in and around this 16.9. And by the way, you can't do anything until you cash out. So right there, AMD goes from a disaster du jour, you know, basically to a cup of coffee. So I honestly, man, another one saved. Because AMD, man, that was wow. You know, we were short early, we got out of it, and then patience, man, patience. Not only Guns N' Roses, but we all had it today with this. You see Eli Lilly, man, I haven't sold any more of this one as we continue to talk about GLP and stuff like that. I mean, a huge move up for Eli Lilly. Now it's down 1% as I see it. But when I was over at the desk with Brendo there
doing this
earlier, 650, man, we got to 648. Right there on Eli Lilly today. So, I mean, this just keeps on going. I've barely gotten out of any of this, but it just keeps on moving to the upside. And the other name that keeps on falling, I know you've looked at this as well. I really like Moderna down here. It's been getting killed over the last couple of days, down about 15% in a week. But this is another one. Yay science. I really think that there's a good opportunity here to pick up some nice value in Moderna. But again, I'm pretty bearish over the next couple days here on the market. So let's just be careful with all of that.
Anything I buy at these levels, I think you want to hold for a long time. I don't know. I'm thinking about I can't think of anything that I would buy right now that is not like.
Well, you'd be out of everything.
We're holding this for. I don't see any great swinging opportunities. That's the way.
It's like Rivian, you can't get out now, or it's a fucking huge hit.
And I say this because look, that 18 to, if I was swinging Rivian when it held a 50 and 200 pre-moving average, that was an easy 25%. But I said when I got in, this is a shot play. This is zero or ever. And when to me, like that's the kind of like if I was buying Funware today or tomorrow, I'd be thinking, okay, probably not zero. I'd be thinking about like 10 cents or $1. Or maybe if it doubles up, you're taking out. But a couple of things here, because the futures just bounced off the morning range bottom. The NASDAQ, I should say. NASDAQ futures just bounced off the morning range bottoms. So there is some strength coming back in off those lows. If we take out those lows, you're in trouble. But the only thing that can save the market, I think, is the chips getting back up. Names like Microsoft maybe showing some strength back in because that's what carried us this morning. I think they got to do the lifting again. Spirit Airlines, just for anyone that was not paying attention during the midday, the deal is getting blocked. and this was the reaction. It actually made a fresh 52-week low. I said in the chat, the first even dollar level that it holds after halts down, we're going into the long, and I'm scalping it, and I'm trailing it once it gets to the first halt price up. That's a very specific setup. It was clean, but you could hold it if you want. I'm never making that hold. I like to, as a day trader, I like to get in and get out, and then worry about the rest later. If it sets up again, fantastic. But on Snap News, you're going against the news here. For all I know, this Spirit Airlines goes bankrupt in a few weeks or months or something like that. So it is now holding VWAP. I would key in, at least if you're trading it now, off that second halt down price at about $8, which it just recently rejected. This is not a good look. Usually these things will find a bounce at like a previous massive level on the daily. This didn't even try to bounce at $8.70 when it got back into the November low. So be very cautious trading that name if you have to, but not a good day if you happen to be a shareholder of this company. That's the risk with these deals. Everyone talks about, oh, it's just easy, like just go in and buy something that's getting bought out. You have to know a little bit about the chances of the deal going through. Like it's just, you know, and then because then you own the company based on its own merits, which for a lot of people was easier to do when it was Activision. Maybe you don't want to own, and I guess people don't want to own Spirit Airlines as much. Otherwise, I think they would have been buying $9. At least I would have thought they'd be buying $9. It's just nasty, 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 unfortunately. Shane D, you don't think SAVE is a reasonable swing trade? I don't know enough about, I'm not a huge fan of the airline, so I don't know. I can't tell you. After news like this, generally speaking, there are some bottoms to be had. When Activision would have quadunk days during its time, it was usually a good swing, but that wasn't the deal completely falling apart. They throw shade on the deal, it would make a higher low after dipping, and then you'd go back to the upside. This is much different. This is them saying the deal's not happening now, so I don't really know where a bottom is because I'm not trying to value this company at all.
We just took, I mean, we're stink facing the market, man. I mean, we're really trading well here. Meta, we just got out, took 250 on that one. Microsoft, let's bring the pain back down. We're now trying to get out a little bit more on that one as we just reshorted. Let's see if we get out. We just got some out at 90 something there on. We just reshorted 17s. It's not going to be a very big trade. I'm hoping we can fall down, but the market is now above the 50-period moving average, so I fully expect to get stopped out, so we did take some damage off right there on this softy trade. If it all flips over, man, that is completely fine. We're getting out of everything. Our firm, who's changed it up right now, again, we're only $1.70 in the money on a firm right now, so we will try to get out of that as it's trying to fade back a little bit here, a firm back up to the upside. You could see, though, we just really kind of watching this 50-period moving average. So that right now is at 40.94. We're going to go to 41, and if it breaks through 41, then we got Zeno on that one, baby. What's up, Thanos? You got a question for me? Ask me if you want to right now. Some of us trade in sim, some of us don't. We are not in sim mode right now. We are trading live, and I just said to the guys behind me, man, it's same shovel, different shit. Like every day, we're still here, man. We're putting up green numbers, and hopefully, thank you, Thanos, for watching us for the first time. We do trade at a prop floor here in lovely Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and need to be flat at the end of every single damn day. I've made over 180 or so trades, but each trade is a fill. So when you're looking and you're saying, like, why is this guy on one? I mean, look at Intel right now. 3 or 4 short fills short, and then maybe like 15 fills out all the way to the downside as we get out mostly at VWAP there, and then we hold for the dream to the end of that one. Alibaba is another example where, and again, Thanos, if you're looking for something right now, please don't snap your fingers, but at the end of the day, you're not going to get rid of the sticky note because I'm not going to stop doing it. So right now, if you won't need any information on some ideas, man, Sticky Note Nation is going to be there for you. And that included this Alibaba trade today, which unfortunately, this was a mistake. I had that resting order there. I think you guys, it was off the show. I was, no. When we got filled there, I had a rester right at the bottom of the day because again, I was like, if we take 75 cents, that'd be pretty good. And we did not leave it for 69.50. So that's where we're coming into that. Pretty close there again. The TQs, again, I will always trade I've yet to see a profitable futures trader, really. So I'm going to still stay with TQQ. It doesn't mean you can't be a profitable futures trader. It does take a hell of a lot of time to do that. And if you're willing to put in the work, we have Stephanie here. We had Arun. You have to be able to put in the work for that one. And I love trading them. It's just for me, it'll be few and far between. But that was a good opportunity there as we got back to VWAP again for the TQQs. And other than that, man, right
Disney
now,
just tagged the high again.
ooh, I love that Disney, man.
I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for the top.
No. Okay, go ahead. If you
No, this market is like there's not that much that's really strong here. I'm going to go for the consolidation long in here, 92.25. Just take something back into this lower high, lower or higher low, I should say, lower high. It's going up. The higher low here at about 92.10. So I want to get this to the long side. If it breaks out through that 3/4 or the half mark, I just want to be long already. Disney's showing you room if it can take out this high, and it's showing you relative strength as well. This is about 92.15, and then you have a wick in here, 92.75. I want to be long, looking for a push into 93. If it can break 93, you can see obvious room to 94. This is a good-looking setup, at least for the long trade. I want to respect the trend here. The trend is your friend popped on in the midday and talked about buying dips and what you look for in buying dips. First of all, you want to be making higher lows. On the 3-minute, you don't really see anything obvious, but when I zoom it out to the 15-minute, you're now starting to hold above some of those highs the last couple of weeks, and that's what gets me excited about it. There was a nice dip into fun, not quite where I was looking for it. I was really thinking back into the 30 level. And I was looking for some kind of consolidation. Like, to me, the trades that have worked out percent the best is the first dip. If you got that first dip and rip off 25, great. It didn't hold the first. The second time when you get this consolidation, so there's your wipeout bottom, there's your consolidation higher, long consolidation in the stock, then it starts to head to the upside. That's what I look for, a longer consolidation, get the long when it makes a wick bottom, and then get your press to the upside. So if it can do this again, I think it's got some serious room to the upside, but I need to find myself an out first. Each of these gave you an out. Like, that was long, 26 half, out there 25 half. When I got this dip buy in there at 25, my out was 24 half. I'm just not seeing a way out that isn't overextended on Funware just yet, but the trend has been fantastic. And you know what? Maybe the market's trying to make a bottom, because you know what time it is. It's 2:45 or past it. That means we got to get to Frank Caberna. Let's pump those markets, Frank.
We don't do anything of that sort, Frank. We talk about macro stuff around here, but let's dive into what could be an interesting week here. And it's starting off, certainly, even though it's a holiday-shortened week, going to be an interesting one. As I mentioned early on, we get an early look on GDP coming up later in the week that could be a bit of an indication as far as how things are going. We got more comments from the Fed this morning. It was Waller that came out and said, given the state of the strength of the underlying economy, given the state and the strength of the underlying job market, why do we even have to cut going out to March? And you and I had that conversation going back to last Thursday. Now we're seeing yields coming back to the upside. We're seeing the dollar coming back to the upside. Explain here a little bit, or give people an idea as far as what we need to know going into. There's not much for the next week and a half here as far as what to look forward to. So what is driving this action today?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of interesting price action on you're right, a shortened, what should be boring week by data release standards. But we'll get to what I think will be a really interesting data release, or a lot of global markets are looking to tonight in a little bit. But let's start with the interest rate story, because I think that's what's kind of piling on to what we're seeing in global fear. And like I say, data coming tonight out of China that we'll get to in a second. But on top of that, rates are bouncing back. And whether it's Fed members talking down these ideas of extensive cuts or cuts at all, the market's still pricing in at least some cuts this year, and still more than 50% chance of a cut in March, Brendan. But what we're seeing is the longer end of the yield curve picking up. And I was actually surprised by this, because we focus so much on the Fed funds, which is the overnight rate that the Fed actually hikes and cuts, and that they'll meet on in 2 weeks from tomorrow to decide what to do with. Will they cut, or will they start to look at cuts in March, or what have you? And then we focus so much on the 10-year, which is really kind of the S&P 500 for interest rates in the US. It's the benchmark that's so often quoted. And I took a look at the 30-year here today. Just I was sizing up that 10-year and I was like, oh, it's up about 8-10 basis points today. What's the 30-year doing? The 30-year has bounced back from that blip below 4% at the end of last year, coming off of the last FOMC of last year, where Fed Chair Powell says, okay, we're going to look at cuts in 2024. Everything moves below 4% there, the 10-year and the 30-year. We've bounced back now to today, but above 4.25%. Huge strength that we're seeing in not only the 10-year, but also the 30-year. Now, what does this all mean? It means that, yes, you're still likely to get some Fed cuts this year. That's the short end of the yield curve. But the long end of the yield curve telling us today and the last couple of weeks, and that's why you've seen the stock market sell off, bounce back, kind of undecided on what this all means. But it tells you that they're unlikely to necessarily cut through 4% or much lower than 4%. In the same way, remember, Brent and I would jump on with you a year or two ago when they were hiking interest rates, and the 10-year and the 30-year didn't move much beyond 4% because the market was thinking, yeah, they might be hiking up to 4.5%, 5%, but we don't think that higher than 4% is really a long run interest rate environment. Right now, on the flip side of that, the long run not buying into as many cuts as we thought in the last couple of weeks of 2023. And so you're seeing markets try to deal with this fact amid what has become overwhelming U.S. strength across the board. But we can get into that in a second. But yeah, really interesting interest rate action. Still looking at cuts, but the question remains to be, will it be 2 or 3, or will it be 5 or 6? Today's market leaning closer to 2 or 3, which was the Fed dot plot at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I wanted to come back to exactly that. That's exactly what they were saying going into this year. So was it, as we were saying last week, was it a case the market kind of getting a little exuberant with their excitement of rate cuts to come and maybe overshooting here a little bit? We got some data out of, going back to what you were saying earlier, we got some data out of Canada this morning suggesting that inflation's still not where it needs to be in this country. We're getting some more economic data, as you alluded to, out later in the week. Tell us what we need to know here as far as what to look forward to this week.
So now let's dive into the nuance of what's going on, because great point on Canada. Actually, U.S. and Canada have been the relative outperformers because you might say, I mean, look at Alibaba stock, look at some of the Chinese stocks, and look at some of the currency price action. It is not economic strength across the board. You're seeing economic data moving in the opposite direction in parts of Asia and parts of Europe as well. And you're seeing threats of a global slowdown, if we're not already there, for a country like China. That's really could be the one thing to spoil this soft landing, the one thing that could bring rates closer to 0% faster. And the Fed hasn't talked about yet, but could start to insert into their speeches to come, is that geopolitical piece, the global economy piece. Because you look at Chinese stocks making new lows and just diverging completely from U.S. equities. And you have to imagine at some point this spills over to the U.S. It's already spilled over. And yeah, you see the long-term chart this morning trading around $22. And this is a market that hasn't traded below $20 since the financial crisis of 2008. It's down to those pandemic levels and prices that it hasn't seen since, like I say, that financial crisis, the last stock market crash that we've had globally here in China. Now, this is kind of the antithesis of what we're seeing out of the U.S. Just showed a chart of how NASDAQ's up 50% in the last year of trading. NASDAQ hit new all-time highs just for a couple of days at the end of 2023. But you're already seeing this Chinese story seep into Australia and Japan, two major economies that have obviously more significant dependencies on China than the U.S. does. Now, if this story continues throughout spots in Europe and potentially over to the U.S., you could see, you've seen the Fed in the past, remember 2015, 2016 range, they listed China and geopolitical risk as a potential reason for not hiking interest rates. That could be inserted into this conversation. But yeah, kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth here, there are so many things on the table for this FOMC to come at the end of January. Unlikely any actual interest rate action, but you could see Fed Chair Powell lean more dovish towards more cuts because of stories like that of China. And there's more Chinese data coming tonight, actually. Their GDP is reporting tonight, and everybody is watching that. As you see here in the chart, they're expecting around a 5% GDP in China, which you might say, that sounds great. That's a great number to hit. Look at the data prior to the pandemic, and they didn't hit 5% or below once in that decade prior. And so 5% or some of their prints recently since the pandemic in the 4 handle and even the 2 and 3 handle, way below expectations for a pre-pandemic China. And everyone, like I say, will be watching this Chinese GDP coming out tonight. The Chinese central bank was actually expected to cut interest rates, didn't do it. And so maybe they're seeing something that we're not seeing, but either way, it'll likely play out in that GDP. But like I say, my excitement, especially leading into this FOMC in 2 weeks from tomorrow, is because there are so many potential outcomes on the table of that potentially more dovish Fed worried about something like a China or other geopolitical risks that are at play. Or you've got this more hawkish side of the Fed that's like, dude, we just printed a 3.4% inflation, still not in the 2 handle. Non-farm has been above expectations for 2 months in a row, and then we'll see what happens in February. Why would we be cutting now for any reason other than the fact that the market expects that we're going to cut?
And it seems like that argument continues to get stronger and stronger. Just a quick correction. I mentioned the GDP prelim is this week. It's actually next week. So next Thursday. So a little bit closer to that next FOMC speech and meeting that we'll hear from Fed Chair Powell. I mean, as far as the overall equity side of things is concerned, it seems to be a bit of a holding pattern here.
Yeah.
You know, with rates even going back to the upside, as we said, you know, the market seems to just be waiting maybe for that confirmation to come of not if, but when.
Yeah, and that's because, like we've been talking about, the U.S. has gotten this kind of best of both worlds. This expectation that rates are going to be lowered because inflation has come off of its highs and employment isn't as high as we were adding jobs after the pandemic in 21 and 22, and in parts of last year as well. And so there's an expectation of normalization, but the other piece of that, the best of both worlds piece on the flip side, that parts of China and Australia and Europe are not getting, is strong numbers, relatively speaking, in the US. And so, yeah, US equities you're seeing relatively big down days, but you're seeing relatively big bounces back as well. And still, you widen out the lens, holding on to, like I say, 40 to 50% of upside over the course of the last 12 months. And you and I talk about this all the time. If something does emerge, like a Chinese story that gets larger, or any of the geopolitical pieces at play, or if inflation in the US crashes lower, like it has in some of these countries that I've been referencing here, equities aren't going to like that at that point. It's this balance that our economy is constantly trying to work out, which is, yes, we want interest rates lower than where they currently are, but we don't want the crash, the story that makes those rates move lower. So for right now, in the US at least, and also to your point, in Canada, North America in general, seeing some strong numbers, relatively speaking, we're siloed off from some of the fear that we're seeing globally. I mean, even today, Chinese equities are trading down 2 to 3%, and NASDAQ's off 0.5 percentage point. And if you look at the NASDAQ 100, there are only 4 or 5 stocks that are performing worse than Alibaba and some of those big Chinese names. And so being dragged a little bit lower by some of those global stories, but the US, whether it's currencies or stocks, still the relative outperformer and holding on to that strength. But yeah, we'll see. The big story will be for 2024. Will it be another great year for stocks? A lot of it will probably have to do with, will it be 3 interest rate cuts or will it be closer to 6? And over the course of the next 2 weeks, we're going to get a lot of data that will tell us that path.
And will it be maybe a story of the first half and the second half of the year where, oh, by the way, we also get an election in the U.S.? It's so lots to consider and lots to pay attention to. Great stuff. Frank Caberna is Director of Strategy over at IG.com in Chicago. A pleasure as always. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Brennan.
Thank you, Frank. Just absolutely dropping science. You don't want to battle that guy at all. I'm sure he can probably drop some rhymes next time when he's talking about them rates. I like the look. I'm not gonna lie, Frank. Looking good, sounding good. Disney just broke. Look, first of all, you know what happened in the markets because 245 happens and you got a bit of a bounce to the upside. So you are getting a decent hold off those morning bottoms. Whether or not the Qs can get green, maybe we'll throw up a poll on that one. That remains to be seen. Let me just show you the black chart because this is a 15-minute chart of the Qs. 16.95 was the lower high that we put in right in the middle of the day. So the question is, can we get through that? If we're going to get there, then you're going to want a Disney long on the way, I do think. But I just got back into fun. I was mentioning looking for a consolidation. DWAC is actually breaking highs. DWAC's done 5 million shares today. This stock never does volume anymore, and it's actually done 5 million shares. So that's the first thing. And I was just putting in the chat, you finally got a consolidation higher where it made a higher low, then gave you the sideways action. That way it's like risk ascent, and now it's breaking out the highs. So Funware just continues to go. It's going to do 1.5 billion shares today. As long as it closes above VWAP, this is probably a thing for a little bit. So if it closes above VWAP, maybe it takes aim at 44 and then 60 cents in the next couple of days. I'm not actually sure why this thing doesn't have to worry about being above $1 because it's been underneath $1 for a year, but just follow the volume. And this is one of those Kincaid spikes to the upside. As again, you look for, it gave you a big dip, but I've liked the consolidations that last more than 5 minutes long. It gives you that little dip, 5-minute consolidation, couple green go long, little bit of a higher low dip, consolidation, 5 minutes long, gives you the long off that bottom, and now you're breaking out these highs. 44 is the obvious level on the daily chart, if that even matters to anybody. I'm not for sure to most people, if you're taking a shot play, maybe it doesn't matter to you. And while you were gone, I'm going to trail out Fisker here. Fisker, we got mostly toward the bottom of the day, a double bottom, back above VWAP. If it breaks 98, I'm not waiting for a buck. This seems to want to try to get back into that dollar level. If it breaks 98 change, we'll just jump out of that trade. But Funware continues to give you lots and lots of fun. I'm not sure where this is headed ultimately because I don't fundamentally know why this stock or DWAC for that matter, like what's the end game here from in terms of the actual company benefiting from the Trump news. But again, just trade.
Yeah, not much risk on Funware, but yeah, if you like it, go for it, guys. I mean, we're now $0.015 in the money as we just continue to hold it. Affirm still going well. I don't know, man. We're already you keep saying this. The damage is already done for my account. Make sure you join me and Brian Shannon coming through at the end of the day. As soon as we get the graphic ready, we'll show it up. But it's going to be, I got this one anyways. The recap show is back today, tomorrow. And then, I guess Thursday. And then Neil will be doing it on Friday as I won't be here. So that was good. Save is going to $9. Okay. We'll see what's going on there. But here we go. Come on, Funware. We're at 39.5. We'll try to take 10% here on this one, and then we'll let the rest just ride up. I mean, we're doing it again right now. We'll have two red names on the day today because of stupid Palantir. We're still waiting for that one to see if this one can come back again. It broke that last little level there, and we just, again, Like when we're up, you know, and when we're down, thank God today, we're just down little bits. So it's been a really, really good day so far here. Like I'm holding in the money right now, what I'm down on the day for AMD is what I'm holding in the money for a firm. So just to give you guys a little bit of an idea. And here we go, come on. Here comes Funware right now. Let's see if we get to 39.50 and get it all the way up.
There was a new position I didn't mention.
Yeah, I don't have enough shares. You know, we want to talk about other positions, but there's not much going on. A 5, yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, my wife just told me this joke. How about this? Dad joke of the day. 5 ants rented an apartment with another 5 ants. Now, they're 10 ants. You know, rented an apartment, tenants.
Don't even. I don't. Come on now.
Not just a trader, obviously a comedian over here as well.
Dads do dad jokes.
Shout out.
That's the whole point.
That was from my wife.
Oh, okay, but fine. You still delivered it. I mean,
I delivered it perfectly.
Delivered it. It's when it comes to a joke, you know, you gotta set it up.
Yeah.
You've got to have the timing for it. You got to have the right tone. And when you do a dad joke, you got to have that Leslie Nielsen in you.
10 ants. I'm gonna have a new segment soon called Dad Jokes.
New position was in
Get ready,
PayPal.
Fabian.
So anyone that's watching PayPal knows it's getting its butt kicked today. Down 4%. There was a there was a downgrade. I don't remember who it was by. Doesn't really matter who it's by. The stock rejected the 200, and then today it broke the 50 period at about $59. So I'm looking at the bottom end of the range. You have morning low that ends up being resistance in the afternoon. So when it pops back into that level, you know what I'm thinking. We talk about this all the time. If you're looking for a trend down, either I'm shorting a VWAP push, I'm shorting a 59.30 level, or I'm shorting off of this level here in a trend to the downside. Just grip and rip, right? And it's all about risk to reward. Here, you can short it pretty much at 50 with 10 to 15 cents worth of risk. And if it gets down into the low of the day, that's moved about 2.5 times if you break the low. So that's what I'm looking for here on PayPal. I have a bid at 1-to-1, and then we'll look for the low of the day on PYPL. AC Fun at $1 after hours, I find that incredibly unlikely. It's day one and it's at 37 cents. I mean, if it gets to $1, I would think you're looking at that. It's probably possible by the end of this end of this week, maybe next week, but that is a ridiculous move. It's already a ridiculous move, right? So what does a continuation look like? We've seen this with stocks before, like what could it actually do? But again, I don't know what the end game is here. I think you're getting a bit of a squeeze play at 7.5% short float. As I said, 44 stands out to me. If it takes out 40, then I would be pretty much all out. If it got to the 44 level, I have one more offer in front of that 40, and then I'm looking for a push into the 44. $1 just seems like maybe. I mean, why not? But yeah, that's not something I'll be hanging on to for that. We're day trading here at the end of the day. Disney, you can see when it broke, went to go grab it. I was trying to get a dip buy in Disney as opposed to taking the breakout, but Disney did break out the high. Now up 2.5%. There was ESPN and the NFL potentially reaching some kind of, Disney and the NFL potentially reaching some kind of an agreement with regards to ESPN and them taking a stake, but I haven't seen anything firm with that. It's just up 2.5% and trending higher. I'm going to buy the dip into the previous high. So that's 940. I don't need the quarter bids anymore. I don't think that's going to come into play at all. Spirit Airlines holding VWAP nicely. I don't know where I'd short this, so I'm just going to stay away from the stock. I don't want to be buying here just randomly off of VWAP. It was a relief rally long, and now you're having to buy it off of, I don't know, I guess you could go off this halt level at $8. That could provide you a scalp trade, but I'm not seeing any real size here on Spirit. I'd rather go elsewhere. I like the Disney trend to the upside if we can catch it.
I love some Disney. Right now, I'm setting up. We are going to have Brian Shannon. I'm talking with him as we speak. So I feel like that's going to be a great segment here tonight from one dad to another. We'll have Brian Shannon on. I'm going to tell him that joke, see what he thinks. And then we are going to have a new segment called Dad Jokes. That's going to be coming up very, very soon for you. I'll put them on Instagram as well. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and at tradertv.live on Twitter. I am looking to go shorter right now on TQQ. We were at 5. I mean, I can just tell it to you, like, it doesn't matter. We're short here at 50.09. We were waiting for more at 50.09. It went to 50.07 right there. So if it comes back up, we will get that fill. Actually, I lie. I am at $50.10. So I went right to where VWAP is, and we will sit there and wait for the fill on that one. What's up, John19? I like that there. Oh, all right, because traders stay late, and you guys are going to be staying today, we have UNG. Right now, and this United States gas down as it continues to go down. And I got some news from Madeira here. Obviously, as it's very, very freezing cold here in the Northwest and Midwest and pretty much everywhere, I feel like, you would think it would go the other way. Well, it did. It went the other way early, last couple days in anticipation of this weather. Now, unfortunately, the forecasts have turned around, and now people are thinking the other way around. This is not going to hold, and all we've done is sort of used up some of that surplus supply right now. So UNG coming back down today. This is very, very difficult to trade. You would think coming in today that because the weather was on one, that this would also be all the way to the upside, but no. Changed around, and Adair just sent me a couple different articles there. So again, it ran up in anticipation. Remember, the stock market, and bang, there it is right now. It don't matter what your boy is trading. We'll take 10% on Funware. Anyways, ran up ahead of the blustery weekend. Blustery, you know I get that from Madeira. Nice move to the upside right there. $7, now right back down as forecasts have changed. But there it is on Funware, man. We take that high, we just hold it couple pennies, then it just rips back up, man. I'm just gonna be like I told you, some of you aren't, actively in and out, scalping this very, very small. I told you we don't have a huge piece here, so we'll just let this thing go run up to the upside. Congratulations all y'all on Funware, but there it is, man. Oops, Britney, but guess what? We did it again, and from Britney Spears to DJ Khaled, that doesn't make any sense, but here is another one, and then we did get loaded up now. We're still waiting for some more. The TQs, this is a funny spot right now because we're breaking above VWAP. We bounced off the low, so do we want to test some of these levels? We're going to get out if we wick too much higher than where we are right here on the NASDAQ. So let's be very, very careful with the TQQ, but hey, man, it's Funware, and hey, like Neil mentioned before, if you're not having fun yet, then whatever, I'm good to go here as we get ready for the nice one. Thanks, Paulie D. As we get ready for the recap show here tonight, DraftKings moving.
DraftKings, actually, there was news on Penn last week. We always ignore that stock for DraftKings. I'm going to trail this a little bit better than last time on Funware, just to give an idea. I think that was sort of sloppy. I actually realized, and you'll see, when this broke this consolidation here, I should have been trailed to 32, and I was trailed to 30. That's a mistake. And again, when you're trading, you want to look for risk to reward and what's your plan of action. If I'm taking that consolidation and risking the cent, now that it breaks to 40, and I think 44 is a top, whether I short it or not, I'm looking at that as a bit of a top. So this last wick high was to 39.5. If it breaks 39, I'm trailing out of this trade. So again, you guys can do whatever you want. Just in terms of structuring a trade, that's the way I look at it, stair-stepping to the upside. I generally want to take profit, find the long, find the next long, and then trail it out if it fails. Because at some point, the stock could be at VWAP, and it could go one halt down, and it could open up, and you could be at VWAP right quick. So let's give it a chance to get up to that 42, 44 level. As a matter of fact, I'm actually going to bid 42s if we get it, and then we'll see if it can actually pull back into that 39. I'll be out if it breaks to 39 even. Disney, okay, it's starting to roll over a bit here.
No.
So I'm looking, no. Disney's like 10 cents off the high. So it's not falling or anything. I'm just looking for the dip into the previous high is all. So the chance to get it could start to come into play. Oscar plays. What are you playing in? Some Apple, obviously, because that's what you're asking about. Is it at a shortable level? Oh, I got these wicks on the chart. Can I zoom in to help that? The high was more of a 184. Maybe the 15 minutes show you that a little better. Yeah, the high was like 184 back into these lows from last week, Thursday. So I don't know that it's at a great level. 183 is not bad, but I'd be looking at this top here a little bit more. The futures are at a key price. I think you're right about looking for some shorts. Again, I didn't really trade Apple today because I was waiting very patiently for 86s or 180 even, which didn't come in.
Told you about Apple being the #1 P&L for me. It was a big trade today. It's not, to answer your question, not at a shortable level. You have to wait for 184. For me, it just traded differently. I thought, we would, well, it didn't actually. It was who I thought it was today, right to the downside. That's why it is the #1 name for me on the P&L side of things. And by the way, we just did DJ Khaled. I need another one. We'll just do this. Well, I'll try to keep it in the. Let's try to keep this in the sack there, in the wheelbarrow, because look at this, man. We just reloaded the TQs. We talked about that. So a couple fills up there. Now bringing it back into the downside. We just took some fills ahead of 50. Now we're below it as we continue to go. I got a little bit of a headache. So, all right, Meta rejection rate there. Okay, we got out. So again, we got out of Meta once we broke through the 200 period. But look at that, man. A VWAP rejection. Shout out to my, again, friend Brian Shannon, who'll be joining me tonight. If you want to talk about bright minds, like I know we had Frank Caberna, but this guy's going to be something else. He's messaging me as we speak. So what's up, Hamptons Trader? What's everybody? Hydration Nation. Yeah, I got Hydration Nation right here, right now. So we'll drink a little bit more of this one. But like I said, we're here for all of you. I'm short Affirm. I'm short Intel. Funware is now like and I mean, we told you. I was going to trade this one and try to hold this. So let's see now what happens with Funware. 10 cents in the money, 35% winner right here on PHUN as it goes for 50. You guys might be right, whoever said that, man. You might be right about $1. Let's see what happens with Funware. Make sure you join me tonight, and we'll talk all about Funware, and we'll watch to see what happens in the after show, in the aftermarket. I'll have a live level 2 up for Funware. So, yeah, man, nice move upside. I'm just going to hold it. Whether or not it goes all the way down, we're already... so let's see if we can have some fun here today at Trader TV Live. Make sure you hit the like and the subscribe.
Subscribe today.
There we go.
Hola, and you know what? You know my plan of action. Set it. 44 was the level on the daily. I'm out of Funware. It just tagged the 45. It pulled back into 43 here. So trade your own plan. As long as you have one, you're absolutely fine. I want to shout out in the chat because I saw something about, someone said AMD was like their only good trade today to the long side. But you know what? That should be okay. Because I think Funware anywhere, I got out of AMD too early. There's no question about it. But if your only good trade today was taking the biggest breakout, did you win on it? The answer, I'm assuming, is yes, because you said it was a good trade. Then that's fine, right? Like the only thing that matters is when you have a good trade, right? Like whatever AMD was for you, like when you have a losing trade, just make sure it's not bigger than that. Like when you have an A+ setup, you can't be losing more than you make on an A+ setup. But if you made money on AMD today and that was the only good trade, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong whatsoever. I'm sure there's lots of people where like Funware, like I'm looking back in time, like maybe 15 cents if you're long at Funware, like that's probably your best trade of the day. But it's all about risk to reward. It's about trading your plan, whatever it might be. Heck, Disney, come on. Where's the dip buy in Disney? Nowhere is apparently where that one is. So Disney just made another higher low. Looks like 92.5 held on as well. So is what it is. You got to be able to have a plan. I looked for a little bit more of a dip. It didn't quite give it to me just yet in Disney, but we'll look to see if we can get picked up at some point. But the fun continues on Funware. Like it just gave you, it just gave you 1.5 cents to go to like 7 more cents, and maybe it does get. I don't think it gets to $1. That's just my opinion. I hope for everybody's sake that's long it does. It seems a little bit extreme to me that it would go to $1. And DWAC, I'm not throwing shade at DWAC, but there's no question that the better stock as a day trader to trade is Funware versus DWAC. Volume, percent move, all of those things are just a little bit better.
Yeah, oh man, I was gonna say, are we having fun yet? But it's well overused now. I mean, it's been a big move. All right, we got out of some more of our TQQs right here, right now. Look, man, we talk about this all the time for everybody asking in the chat. Like, look, the reason why this is the best business, I go on these rants all the time. Yeah, exactly. Fun can make your month, and this is what it's about. Look, this is not rocket science. All you have to do is call up your broker statement. If you're actually making enough money to make a living on your net, then you're a trader. You're a professional trader. You have to make enough money. If this is going to be your only income source, then you know how much you need to make. So I was going to say, if you've made that money on fun today, we're right now, you know, I told you we're fun money with this stock. I don't need this stock. It's great that it's going 11 cents now, 50% in the money or whatever the hell this thing's gonna do. You know, but there it goes. It's just, honestly, if you made, some people saying like, oh, I made $4,000 or whatever on Funware, something like that. You know, if that's more than you made last month, then you're doing pretty good on that stock today. Can you get greedy and wait for more? Of course. But definitely have your stops in there so that if and when Funware dumps right now, you know, for me, I don't even have a stop. But if it dumps right now, you want to make sure that you're able to take something out so that it doesn't halt and reopen at 35 cents. And then all of a sudden, that $4,000 that you're all happy about is gone or whatever. Okay, so make sure you take a little bit out there and then just look at your results. That's it. It's pretty simple. If you're doing well, use more shares. If you're not, use less. And that's why we talk all the time about sim mode and that after and the midday show, you know, for sim trading and stuff like that, right? So right here, you could take all of our trades in sim mode, which I do suggest that you maybe want to look at some of them so that you can understand some of the risks involved in some of these positions. And therefore, you're not risking any money on these trades, you know? So that could be something. And then if you want to, just judge what your results are. Like if you see the positions that we take here and you want to sort of follow trade, I know there's copy trading is very, very popular. You could do that. Just look at your results at the end of the month. I sit here and I'll tell you, I'll go 5 days positive, 1 day negative, and I'll tell you, oh, my 1 day negative, I gave everything back. Well, that's not going to be good risk to reward, good risk management on a day-to-day basis. So you got to have the ability to sit back and just open up your statement, and that will tell you whether or not trading is for you and if you're able to make a living on that. After you've tried it, you know, I don't think anybody should throw in the towel after 2 or 3 months, but after that, you really got to sit down and look and say, am I profitable? Are the ideas I'm doing making any money? You know, and I just think that that's all part of it. Okay, right now we got bills to pay. It's Brendan.
This portion of the show brought to you by our friends over at Simpler Trading. Options trading can be a whole lot simpler with the right tools. That's why we recommend you check out Danielle's recommended tools and training bundle for just $47 today.
Ooh, Danielle.
The DWAC hasn't halted today, thankfully, because we always say this when it comes to halt trades. If DWAC were to halt, you can actually track some movement in this stock through the warrants. So I don't know, I think it's, there's U and there's W. So if for some reason DWAC were to halt, I mean, it's not halted now, but if it does halt, I think that's what you'd want to look out for. Just to get some price action, because obviously this up 30%. Funware is going kind of ham, and if they were to go into that halt, I think you want to respect it. Disney just continues to go. We went for the dip. I canceled the dip buy at the previous high because now you're almost at $93 on Disney. It is a slow grind to the upside, but it is absolutely flying. And it just has to be about the structure. Like for any trade, buy at the bottom, buy a breakout, buy at the top. You have to have an in and an out. I couldn't find myself an in that corresponded to an out. So, you know, I'll slap the fail on myself for this because clearly there was a long in here at some point this afternoon. I think this is the best one. It was about 220 in here. Like it broke the high and then dips right into that previous high. That was probably the best setup for a long that we've seen in Disney. But that's what I'd look for. You just look for a trade that's executable, where you know where you're in, you know where your out's going to be. You're still going sideways. I like the fact that PayPal's going sideways as the market tried to go higher, so it's not really breaking out, just needs to break down from here. So those are the trades I got in. I'm still looking for something else. What else is moving? Nick Dubs saying Nike to the upside? Downside, great short. Never mind.
I like that Nike short breaking through 102 there. It's a good one for sure.
I mean, it hasn't been great for Nike, and it's almost flat. It's not really a flat bottom break, but it's pretty darn close to it. I just think the bigger level, is this a real wick? No, it was like $98 was this bottom. I thought 98 was this low. I'm going to look at trade ideas, but I think the 98 level, if it breaks that, Nike's in some serious trouble. It's not as bad as a Boeing chart, but it's not a heck of a lot better either.
100 coming in for Nike. All right, I'm bidding some 97s. Hopefully we'll get that fill on the TQQs here as we go. Fun pulling back a little bit. Intel, I mean, we're so light on Intel, honestly, man. I was just hoping that this would, actually, I guess it did pull back a little bit here on INTC into an area. Yeah. You know, we're picking on the market here instead of some of these individual names, as we only have 35 more minutes left right now. Yeah, you know what, Tobias, let's do that, man. Let's start looking at other names. Let's look at some Coinbase right now. You guys know last week we were short 160, 150. I mean, we did really well on Coinbase. And yeah, 134, 135. I mean, that's a good short right there for coin. So I feel like that's something. If it gets back up there, the thing is that I haven't really been focused too much on BTC today. So I haven't really been watching the movement there. The good part about this is I'm going to start tracking IBIT right now. So I actually have that. So if you are joining me for the market recap show, remember, traders stay late, and you're going to do that today with me. And thanks, Neil, for covering on Friday. But you could see here, we have Brian Shannon, by the way. I think I mentioned that already. You know, if you're going to watch out for Bitcoin, the problem with looking at this off of a weekend is the fact that it doesn't have the trading that happened in the weekend. So like, crypto got hit down to 41 or so. Now you're back nicely up to 43 and change. But this name takes a hit early, battles all the way back, and now you're starting to go down. So I feel like if you're going to actually, this is the BlackRock ETF, right? The most volume, which is why I'm looking at it.
Actually, it was the most volume. GBTC's taken it over.
Oh yeah, Grayscale product?
The Grayscale took it over.
I think that's just because maybe their name got switched. I'm not sure that's going to happen for the
There's some
longer.
residual.
But either way, so what is that down?
This is
what I
down
mean, it doesn't make any sense.
This is down 0.75. You pull up that chart, I looked at this one, and it was like 0.75, 0.94 for IBIT.
Yeah,
and as I was looking at this, like this one bounces off of you up. You're not
GBTC,
tracking exactly.
Burrs here.
That's that sort of thing. I'm sure there's a trade that people are trying to figure out where it's if you can play some kind of hedging off of these. I just be careful with that the further you get away from when they opened up, because that's the kind of trade that will get shut down. But there's no question there's a little bit of a difference between these two. Like IBIT breaks out the pre-market highs and is holding higher.
What does it look like on a chart though?
GBTC cannot break this morning high. But when you went to Sean's chart, it actually did. So again, we'll see what happens. I think it's worthwhile, at least if you're trading Bitcoin, to have a look-see.
Well, that's the idea, is that now
liquidity is much better. Better.
Not only that, I mean, look at stocks like Mara and all that kind of stuff. You want to have both of them up, meaning the stock you're trading and then the leading indicator, which in this situation it would be spot Bitcoin. And now we have those ETFs that give us spot Bitcoin. So that's going to be supposed to, like Neil said, though, it'll come back into line and figure itself out at some point. So okay. What? I didn't even realize Mara was at $18. What the hell? Okay. I mean, I should have picked on Mara, honestly. I mean, I said Coinbase was falling into the 130s. And I mean, no, people didn't believe me. Like when it was at 160, I remember catching some flack in there. And honestly, I've been trying to talk about the short Coinbase for a very, very long time. I actually would be surprised if this thing gets back into like 50 or 60 bucks. And I don't know, I'm not going to call a time for that. But we were pretty good with our Affirm short, and we were pretty good with Coinbase short, and I still think the short is in the building there at some point. So, like, not some point, it's going to happen again. I feel like this one breaking 126. But again, you just got to watch out, because if it's going to follow Bitcoin, I still think Bitcoin has more room to the upside. Again, if you follow the podcast, you can find out about that. We had some fun discussions about Bitcoin there as well. What's up, Rob EV? We can also do a Q&A right now, too, if you guys want. I'll try to find questions on the chat from you guys. Do you think, here, let me show it up here. We always do a roll call and stuff, but I have a headache. All right, Rob EV, do you think that these BTC ETFs, it could be the tail wagging the dog? I mean, that was the thought there with Coinbase, was that Coinbase had this huge move up because they were going to be the custodial service that these all use. So like when you go in there and buy your Bitcoin through any of these ETFs, whether or not be Burr or IBIT, GBTC, as Neil brought that to our attention.
HODL.
HODL's a great name. I love. Good. Thanks.
That's the best ticker by far.
I like that one. Yeah, I like ARKB. Because it just, ARK is ARK, and then B makes, anyways, I like HODL's the best name for sure. Yeah, so I feel like every single time someone comes in and buys, you know, if you were to buy, for argument's sake, I'm guessing $60,000 or I guess now Bitcoin, 43, I was talking about Canadian there, 43,000 US dollars there worth of ARC B, then they're supposed to go in there and I guess buy one Bitcoin. Because now you've put in 50 grand into the trust, into the ETF. So yeah, do I think that that is part of what happened to Coinbase? Yes. And now let's just find out. Unfortunately, Coinbase, a lot of the transactions on there are going to be free. If not, even you get a rebate sometimes. So I feel that that's still making moves down. It's so easy. I mean, look what we're doing right now. I mean, let's just go. The market's short side. We shorted the market again. Like, we could talk about Bitcoin here, but I'm still, what we're doing is shorting the market. If you like Bitcoin, get in there and buy it. I like it. Only 21 million going to be printed.
The halving still to come this year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm good, man. We do roll call usually, but I have a headache. That's right, Zion. It's my show. I'll do it as I want to. I mean, unless of course you want a roll call, then I'll do it. But
Henry, there's not only 6 likes. A, that's not true. But B, if that is true, I pity the fool that doesn't hit the like and subscribe update.
Oh, it doesn't update anymore?
It's crazy. I actually have to refresh the page in order to see how many likes there are. Like when I log into it, it actually said 5 for me, but then you refresh it and it is a little bit better than that. But if you're not having fun, Frank dropped some science. I know winning time Brian Shannon. I mean, it's always good, but I know anytime Brian Shannon comes on, it's going to be great in the afternoon show. We're all in a good mood. I mean, unless you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or unless you shorted the chip names today, well, okay, AMD, then you're probably happy. I shouldn't have only said Dallas. They're not the only team that choked this weekend, but you guys know why I said the Dallas Cowboys. One last thing for fun. If you think about this from a higher standpoint, like if you zoom really far out and like look back like this could dip to 36 and still be holding an uptrend, right? Like keep that in mind. It is stair step up. When it broke out at 15, the first pullback held 24. So this bottom at the open, 9 o'clock was 12 cents. Then this one's 24. That one's 36. You know where I'm going with this. And then this high is at like 48. I mean, if you like math, that's not too bad. If this can close, if the volume is insane, 1.3 billion in volume, if it can do another billion in volume and hold into one of those 12 cent-ish levels, then I think this could be a good one. But I'd like to see it pull back into 36 would be a good spot for the long. No drip, no longer a Dallas fan. You know what? You don't have to be that kind of a fair weather fan. Believe in your team. If I gave up on the Bills every time they had a loss that resembled the one that Dallas had, I mean, suffice to say, I would have probably not been a Bills fan for a very, very, very long time. But you got to believe in your team. I'm just glad my team happens to be winning right now. PayPal is still holding consolidation downside. Oh, there was one more thing. Disney, I did pull my bids. It is still trying to eke higher. The difference is the futures are not looking very strong. They're rolling over, and I no longer want to buy the top. When we're bouncing, great. But the second the futures look like they're rolling over, if anything, I might take a shot at an even dollar short. I haven't seen the early look on the imbalances just yet.
1.7 billion. Sell.
1.7?
That's what someone said in the chat.
Okay, that's not nothing. I just saw it, 1.7 billion to the sell side. That's pretty legit. Yeah, I don't know if I want to be long anything at the high of the day that isn't some kind of a squeeze play based on that number.
Okay, I'm just putting out an email here. All right, sorry, a tweet here because I just want to show people. Oh crap, I need to edit it because I need to tag my guy. Yeah, look, just hitting this VWAP again and again, like we just reshorted that again on the TQs and we get it twice, man. Twice in there, twice in there. Nice downside back into the 50 period as the net just keeps on getting stacked up, man. Yeah, what's up, man? You're right. Blue Horseshoe hates Boeing and Save. Yeah, that's correct. And I'll have to, the People's Trader hates Affirm. As well. As I told you, this is going to be the best short forever for me, forever. We're short this name. We talked about this $51 not even that long ago, and there it is right now coming back in, and we've actually crushed this as we still are. Look at this short. Like, can we? The only thing we could do better is more shares. There's nothing else, and then a possible reload right there. And I'm surprised we missed that reload. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe I was just not paying attention. But look at this, man, all the way to the downside, and then there it is too. The market coming in as well right now as that's trying to go lower. So yeah, not much to complain about over here on this side. Oh yeah. I wanted to look at Uber. The Uber chart sort of got mashed up there, but what we were looking at was going to be a short here for Uber. Let me try to zoom this in right now. Yeah, so the chart being down sort of hurt me right there because we were all the way up here, breaking near that 200 period. We had just broken below, so I was going to say short Uber into 50. It hasn't gone down that much right now, but we have to watch out for that and then use 55, 56 as your out. So that one would have been only a 2-to-1 or so risk to reward there. Whenever you're breaking below the 200 period and you have I'm thinking short, and we put our money where our mouth is. That's what we're doing around here. So you could see it's a nice move back in there for Uber, but those stupid little wicks there. Let's check out Tesla quickly. As we said there, I don't think it's time to buy Rivian for the long term. I don't even have any stink bids yet on that one. I think we'll watch out for it. Look at Tesla breaking VWAP right now and starting to head down. I'm just so happy that we're short everything right now, and it's really starting to print out. So a firm downside, Intel downside, the Q's downside, and now we'll wait out for fun. But right now, Tesla just took VWAP. So watch out below. Like if you're going to short Tesla, I actually like it against this 220. So right now you're down in the money about 70 plus cents for Tesla and looking to get a little bit lower now. So yeah, you guys are right. Let's go, Ben and everybody else. Let's get to the downside.
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, get into the chopper market as we get to the downside.
Choppers go up.
Yeah. Well, the market needs to get in there and figure itself out. Whether or not the market goes down or not, I mean, we really just have this NASDAQ trade. And it's like I've already said, man, we put on the shares, and now it's right there as a top P&L stock here today. So congratulations if you trailed on this trade.
Yeah, and I just saw some in the chat there, Grom. This stock is going, but it's not to throw shade on this. I see you in the chat. It broke at the high of the day. It hit my high of the day Momo scanner as well. It's a momentum scanner that I have on Trade Ideas. It's literally called High of the Day Momo Scanner. The only issue is it's done 500,000 shares worth of volume on this stock. So it's not enough that a stock hits, it's breaking highs, it's up a big percentage. Look at this stock, 580,000 shares, $1 stock with a 3-cent spread and no liquidity on the bid ask. That's a bit of a problem. That's a no-fly zone for trading. Like you get 1.3 billion shares of fund worth of traded hands today. Fisker, all those other things, they do volume, they have liquidity, but this Grom stock does not really fall into that. Like 6-cent spread now. Like you punch into that and you're out of the money 4% on a stock like that. To me, that's not what you're looking for, because you absolutely have to moon to make that work as a day trader. For a swing trade, you can usually swing things like that. Zion Sharif was fine today. He's back. Obviously, he's not happy about his Cowboys, but he'll be fine overall. It's just a game at the end of the day. There's more important fish to be able to be fried. I did make a reload here in Fisker, so it's not the $1 level, but you get one bounce off VWAP here at 98. Then I sat there and watched it make that same lower high at 97.5. Like this time, like, oh, this is silly. There's one more trade left in this. I'll give it a chance for the consolidation short. So I added back in at like 97.25. I give it to 98. That's less than a cent worth of risk, right? So remember, everything is about risk reward. When I'm shorting it here at 99 cents, I'm risking the 102 or 101.5. So at that point, I'm risking 2.5 cents on that trade. So I'm not taking profit until it goes down a couple of pennies, and then I'm looking for a big move. So same thing here. When it's a tighter risk, I'm looking to profit differently as well. That's how you look for winning trades, because at the end of the day, like if I try to only make a cent or a cent and a half, but I'm risking 3, well, you can't make money in that regard. Fiddle back. Oxy made a temporary low. I think Oxy has found the low. If Oxy's found the low, you know where it is that it's found it, at least temporarily. So until this thing breaks $55 ever, or closes underneath 50, I think it's like 54.30 is this low. Yeah, you go all the way back to June of 2022, maybe underneath 54, but either way, like it's these mid 50s. Every time it bounces off that level, it's Warren Buffett buying, and he owns like 34% of the company. So I think you just take shots at that when it gets down to that price, and then you look for the 10% or whatever, whatever you think. I think 10%'s been a good move. We put on that PayPal trade. It just started breaking down. I'm shooting for the low of the day here, so 58 and change is going to be the out for me on PayPal. Again, when the market was breaking higher, it refused to break out that resistance spot. And why do we like it? We came on in the midday and talked about where to buy dips and short pops. There's your opening range bottom. There's that opening range bottom turning into afternoon resistance. So morning support turns into afternoon resistance, and now you're headed back in to said low of the day. Kevin saying roll Morgan Stanley. Does that mean short it? I mean, probably. I'm going to, look, it's almost certainly. When I looked this morning, it was a dumpster fire. So I'm going to assume it still is, down 5% here. It's at the 50 and 200 period moving average. The one that, I mean, it didn't happen, but the one that I'm looking for at least a trade in the banks, hopefully it can happen, is this 390 Goldman Sachs. I mean, if it were to break out, this would have been the one. There was a point that I actually had the order in today on Goldman Sachs because it got up here and it got up to like 385. Once it's within $5, that's a hair over 1%. I'm like, okay, if it can take out the 390, we're going long because that's a big level on the daily. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I read Goldman Sachs report or listen to the conference call, but this is 390 from November and that's 390 now. Like, that's a breakout trade if I ever saw one. Unfortunately, the banks are just too weak. I think it seems like they're too weak for that to happen today, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been talking about bank weakness, not just weakness. I mean, banks were super strong, but definitely fading off of earnings. It's too bad that I wasn't here on Friday, like we had mentioned to you guys. But I already said that the XLF, and again, if you're going to join, yeah, there it is, join the recap show, as we'll talk all about ETFs and have a hell of a lot of fun doing it. I was mentioning that these banks really had to come through, and definitely the risk was to the short side. I don't know why everyone was piling into some of the financials, but you know, a lot of the time when you have like herd mentality, when everybody hears something and everybody agrees with it, that tends to be the reversion trade will come in there, and everyone was trying to get long on financials. I still like them. I mean, into this rate environment should be good, but I didn't read any of the reports, and I won't. I'm just trading off price action, and right now the bank's to the downside, so we'll continue to watch that. I mean, like I said, man, the biggest and the baddest of them all today for me is a firm. Just a huge, it's not even the highest P&L name. I mean, we've layered them for the P&Ls today, as a lot of them are very, very similar, man. Like same amount of money on Intel, on Meta, the TQs are right here now. Apple has leveled up, that's the highest one by far, and Affirm's there now too. I just need to get out of it. So let's just do a little bit more work. Our first out on Affirm was 41.20, was right here when we had this position. Then we switched it to 41. Well, now I'm going to switch it to 40.80 because again, it's broken through the 50 period a couple times. And if it does it now, man, we'll take $1.75 and put that in our pipe and puff past that to whoever wants it because this is a monster trade there for Affirm. So let's just put that in together and get out of it. Like I said, I really feel like this is going to be my number one stock, hopefully for a long time. Really, really like trading it. 40.80, enter. All right, so if that breaks, we will ho-hum $1.70, $1.65 winner on that one. Funware is just ho-humming itself right now, trying to break up through $48. I don't have, like I told you, man, this stock can go all the way down to 20 cents. I'm not even blinking an eye, so not too many shares on that one. TQs, hopefully that'll come back in for us. I don't know. I did just put a bid down there at 40.90. Hopefully that'll get filled as well. And then just checking back on AMD, I mean, I guess that was a pretty good out. We don't have the very bottom of the day, but you know, from going short early to going short late, that was a good trade on AMD and made it all back. It was a disaster trade. So we were like down on AMD what we were up on Apple. Now we flipped that up. We still keep our Apple and make it back on AMD. So that would be a good one. NVIDIA just continues to work as well. Wow. I'm going to ask Brian Shannon today about NVIDIA, about AMD, and we'll talk about it for anchored VWAP purposes.
Purple is
where?
No, it's blue. Sorry.
This is VWAP, yeah.
Yeah, blue.
The purple.
The purple's the.
I could get rid of this. This is the 21 period from Max, and I haven't really used it too much.
To be honest, every time I look at your chart, it throws me off.
I'm getting rid of it. I don't use it. I actually don't just use what I use.
Well, it's because I'm used to three things on your chart. So when I look,
it's been on there for a while.
I know, but but you've. Well, okay.
I just never use it.
Relatively speaking, it's been on there for a while.
Yeah,
but like if you think about like I'm thinking about from like 2020, if I look at your chart, I'm used to seeing three things on there, and then I see this other thing, and it'll throw me off. So I've
taken it off.
It's not. I have nothing against the 21 period. I've seen a lot of day traders use 9 and 21 or 9 and 20 for moving averages and then crosses and all that stuff. And
there is something to be said about the reason why I took it off is not because I don't think it's any good. It's just I really don't use it. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
Junking it up. The thing is that you don't want to get not false signals, but like.
But that's no false signals is the correct answer, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah, just I haven't done the work on it enough to be like, oh, the 20, and you guys hear me say it all the time. It's like, I'm going to use the 20 period, but I don't. So Brian Shannon uses the 20 period on a daily chart because that's a month.
Well, see, that's
20 days.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. And
Right.
that's the thing, like it works for him, but like Sean doesn't use a 20, so it's weird for me to look at it. I only use moving averages on my daily charts. I'm really just a VWAP and volume kind of person. We have 5 minutes to go till the imbalances come out. When I looked at the individual names for everybody, and nothing really, I mean, Pfizer and GM, but those pair off like, the time that Pfizer doesn't pair off is when there's going to be some kind of index action. So it's 2.7 sell. These are all to the sell side. A couple of banks in here, BAC and BNS. BNS is the Canadian bank, a bank in Nova Scotia. Wells is 1.3. JP Morgan's 1.3 sell side. So it is vastly to the sell side, these imbalances. But there are no big cap tech names that are showing up for the early look. And in 5 minutes, we'll get the real number anyways. I was asked what the target was for on PayPal. I did mention the low of the day. Apologies if I didn't say that clearly enough. It made one push down since we put it on, and then I'm looking for the low. My stop is no longer at this high, but the high from when I got in. So risking to 53, that's about 7 cents. We always try to tighten up those stops. You're welcome, Paulie D. Just ask. Like, we're going pretty quick. If I ever tell you, oh, we got into this stock, like if I haven't mentioned what the plan is, just put in the chat, hey man, you never said where your out was going to be on that stock. I did say I was canceling my bids on Disney. That was a fail.
Still going up, yes.
So it's still going higher. So Disney continuing to go higher. It's interesting, like if they do sell off, okay, not sell off, whatever the deal ends up being, but if they do get something positive out of ESPN for a chunk with the NFL, like what better, I guess it would be a partner if they just take a stake. I don't think there's a better partner that they could have, really, than the NFL.
Oh, I mean,
maybe it does.
People watch the NFL's gambling.
Well, that's what I'm
Not
saying.
the only reason, main reason.
Well, I mean, unless you're if you're a hardcore fan,
it's different.
or and fantasy football counts, right? So we're talking about fantasy, daily fantasy. Let's be real, like that's why these things are exploding. And there's also a good reason why we're going to go to the desk because the Frank pump is continuing. So let's get to the desk and take care of business.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
You're up a little bit.
Features there, yeah. Okay, so it's wow, Bitcoin's moving around a little bit, 43.1 right now.
Disney should acquire DraftKings.
Yeah, Disney should do a lot of things.
Disney needs to
They
be
already have
selling
ESPN
things, in
bets.
my opinion, but not.
They have ESPN bets. They already have that deal. So
They don't need to.
But DKNG, we can have a look at this one. This was a good sell for me, man. I went in the account and sold off DraftKings as well. I got rid of. You guys know I sold some Snapchat. I have to check out on Snapchat. We sold this at 38 bucks, which was a good one. Honestly, we did, and it's just we're not back into it. I want to get back into it. So there's a few names I want to buy. I want to buy DraftKings if it goes all the way down to the downside. That's why I'm trying to watch it. I'm trying to buy some more Palantir. We talked about where possibly. I might buy this soon.
When does Palantir report?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me check out.
I'm only asking because I don't know.
No. I should know. I feel like this is not the Valentine's Day one, is it? No, it's February 12th, so 2 days before there.
Oh, then who's Valentine's Day?
Yeah, there's a big one on Valentine's Day. Is it ARM or something? There's
No, it's
another
not
one.
ARM.
Maybe it's AMD. I don't know. Anyways, we'll figure it out. But yeah, so I was just thinking, what did I say? 14. So you still got like. You still probably got like 17 or 18 trading days without doing the math before Palantir reports. And, 18 trading days ago, man, we were at 20 bucks for Palantir, and now you're at 16. So that's already gone down about 15 to 20%. So I'm trying to be patient, which kind of sucks because you look back and you're like, oh man, like, we missed the dip buy, or you missed this or you missed that. And then you come in and you see a name like Tesla or something. You're like, oh, good thing I didn't dip buy it yet. So I just feel like holding cards a little close to the chest. And then it's just a really good thing that we are hella long pretty much all the tech names, even though they're pulling back. We've talked about it. You've had such an epic run in a lot of these names that, I still feel like there is a little bit more to go.
And remember, not all of them are pulling back. I mean, like fresh highs on Palo Alto right now. It depends on how big you're considering. Like if you're talking about the Mag 7, fair enough. Like they're all with the exception of kind of Microsoft, they're all pretty much off the highs to some degree, but Palo Alto just fresh tops. And it's still trending to the upside. And the crazy thing about it is it's not, when the SEC had that, whatever we're calling it, guffaw, foul up with the Bitcoin thing. I remember I saw that the first thing I thought was like this, and this is exactly why you like cybersecurity. My wife is now involved in cybersecurity at the firm she works. Not her primary, she does data at it's a reinsurance firm, a big one, but at the end of the day, they're talking about that once a week. Cybersecurity is all anyone talks about, especially when it comes to like integrating AI, which pretty much everybody's doing, even a boring insurance company, and all anybody talks about is how to protect data and that kind of a thing. So if you don't think PanW or CrowdStrike, which CrowdStrike was actually better on a percentage basis than PanW in 2023, believe it or not. I think they're going to continue to work. The trend is so good to the upside, and they're not running out of steam anytime soon. Disney wants 93. I hate your guts, Disney.
Love Disney.
No, I'm tongue in cheek because I sold.
No, I know you sold it.
No, I sold all of my Disney. I was gonna wait for 100, but I sold all of my Disney at like 90. I think it was here at like $93. I gave up. I was like, do I want to own this in the long term? And I made the decision. The answer was no. So I decided not to wait for an extra 5%, which promptly means this stock is probably gonna go to the moon next.
All right, we punched out yeah, probably. Hopefully, we still have Disney. We've been liking it. We told you what our situation is on that one. All right, so we just get out of this at 42.50. I have no idea what just hit with the number there. I don't see. Brendo, do you have that number at 350? I know
Intel's a sell, 2 million.
Okay, so
that's the biggest.
That's what I was going to look at. Let me just call it up. Brendo's talking with Fabian here, so let's not. Let's just hold on a second here, and just try to see if we can guess what it is.
No, that's the early look.
People in the chat always tell us, anyways. Okay, so right here, Intel. Yeah, Neil's completely right there. Looks like Intel is the big one to the downside, and of course your boy is short on Intel, but it's not really moving. So let's just put a bid here at 91 and see if we can get out of INTC at 91. We're on a gateway that has to pay us, so we just missed it. GM with the sell. We'll see. Let's go. We'll see if that's going to the down. Okay, chart's not loading, but there it is. It loads now. Oh, you talked about, is there Canadian banks? Because there's BNS with the buy. That's a little bit strange. We don't often see. Wow, look at that. Well, this is my bank, by the way, that I own in Canada. So Bank of Nova Scotia.
Oh, no. End of February.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say it doesn't seem right, but okay. There it is. We got the, oh no, we didn't get the Intel fill. We got something filled out there. We got a firm. All right, so there it is. And again, this is all on purpose, baby. We're starting to get out now because you got to realize profits. If you don't,
8 minutes.
You ain't gotten any. Right now, 8 minutes, I'm going to go to the desk, so a little bit less for me. All right, so the TQs, we just got a nice fill on that one as well down here at 99. I'm just going to put them all out. Why not? We'll just end this trade off right now. Maybe I should just punch out. I'm always bidding. There we go. Well, okay. Takes 07s right there. We'll just hit bang. It's whatever, man. It's a profitable trade. We don't show our net, but when I don't have any ticks higher than where we got in, that's a profitable trade right there. And then Intel, I bid 91s. So hopefully this will come in and crank it. Crank that soldier boy. You now, Intel, it does not come out. Damn you, soldier boy.
You bidding instead of just punching out?
Oh, I'm bidding because I'm like that. I could just punch out. The thing is, I feel like if I was on an inverted gateway, I would have got it already.
Yeah, like
but I was trying to get paid.
I punched out a PayPal here.
Man.
I'm waiting on the bid for Fisker and Nikola. I'll give those a chance because they're penny stocks, but I just punched out a PayPal. It could not break 58.23. So it does not break that to get to the low of the day. It consolidated. It tried to drop. It didn't drop nearly enough. As far as these two go, Fisker, I got some 97s, but I'm on the bid to cover. I don't need that because I'm on the bid, just trying to get out here at 97. We're at the end of the day here. We're at the end of the line. But the EV names, at least the bad ones, have been still bad, I guess. Nikola here seems to be holding 63.5, so we'll make sure we get out of that one. I saw in the chat for us to look in and go over DWAC for the technicals. There isn't much. The thing about the difference between Funware and DWAC is like DWAC, since it broke 20, there's really nothing to look at for levels. I suppose if we get to $25, sure, and then you go back, and the big one is going to be like a 30-31 because that was a monster area underneath 30. It was like $33.50. That's when it made that really big flush to the downside recently, and then you get some of these lows. So 31, 33, we're nowhere close to any really big levels on DWAC, and that's what separated Funware and DWAC. is Funware it was just the move was different. I don't know what to tell you. Like if you can't tell the difference between DWAC and Funware today, then I don't know. Like there were when the original DWAC move happened, I remember that great breakout day on DWAC. Save for the fact that when they halted down, DWAC halted for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and Funware halted for an hour. On the way up, it was pretty much the same move and you were gonna have great trades. Today's been different. Today, the long was in Funware, not DWAC, if you wanted a bigger move. So you always have to identify that. Volume told you that. Probably the fact that it was bouncing off 10 cents told you that as well. I'm not thinking either one of these are investments per se. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I would say none of them are.
Shot plays, maybe. I mean, if...
All right, Brian Shannon just messaged me, man. AMD, we could talk about, oh, you know what, one name we didn't look at was Micron. He wants to talk about that as well. Congratulations to Andrew Chow there. Gets
Micron, huh?
Yeah, it's funny we didn't talk about Micron. Maybe I'll put the gun back on him and talk about Intel. But right there, what's up, man? That's nice, man. You took my spin, Andrew. So, all right. All right, Andrew. I see
I'm spinning now for sure.
I see what you're up to, Andrew. I feel you. All right, great day, man. It's always a good day when you have no LFT, and what that means is loss from the top. We have no LFT today, and it will be a trophy raising kind of a day right here. So we're pretty happy with our day overall. Shout out to my kid who made this for me for Father's Day of 2020. That says 2026, but it's 2020 right there. So we'll never, ever forget about that. Yeah, that's what I said to Raheem, man. I said the same thing to you. It's like, these kids grow up so fast. It's ridiculous. But okay, I'm going to flip over scripts here and get over to the other side. Oh yeah, by the way, no script. So I'm going to get over there and get ready to rock and roll.
You didn't get yours?
Yeah, I didn't get the script.
So
not
DWAC's
today.
Apparently headed to $150 by the end of the year. I read that in the script. I was like, there's no way. That doesn't make any sense.
Same as the NFL script and the NBA script and all that. But yeah,
don't get me started about the NBA. The Raptors got hosed in that league.
Yeah, well, the NBA is rigged. I don't know what's rigged more.
The NBA is way different from other leagues when it comes to officiating. I think there's...
It is hard. It is the hardest league to officiate.
Because the athletes are so big, so fast. It's not.
And you look at the replay and you're like, oh yeah, that dude hit that guy's arm, but they're traveling so fast and they're both 7 foot.
It's easier to call holding in the NFL than it is to call fouls in traffic in the NBA.
Yeah.
But that said, some of that nonsense with the refs was a little bit out of line.
Well, it's because LBJ, you know what I mean? But anyways, there's reasons why.
Is what it is.
There's reasons why. The NBA needs revenue, right?
Did you see what happened in Micron just now?
Oh no! Why? Why is that what he wants? Why?
I'm not making this up. Just pull up the chart.
Yeah.
You mentioned that he wanted to talk about it, what, a minute ago?
Well, remember, it's 355.
Okay, but fine. I'm just saying it bounced as Brian Shannon, or Sean said Brian Shannon wants to talk about Micron.
That's the power of the recap.
Literally, Micron just bounced off of VWAP, at least a VWAP on my 3-minute chart. So don't at me if it didn't bounce off VWAP on your chart. Look, it bounced directly off VWAP. It was 355. At 355, you get a major pairing event on the imbalances. Actually, most things did pair off. GM, which was 1.8 million, pairs off to 1.3. You can see there's NYSE. I like to keep the early look so I have an idea of where things started out and not just where they're going. I'm going to be I did get out of Fisker. I'm still on the bid of Nikola. You know what? This is silly. I'm just going to punch out. Why care about a 100th of 1 cent? Just going to get out of Nikola. To me, this is a short till it ain't. See this stock? See this chart? It just flat bottom broke. Down 9%. There's your flat bottom break at 66 cents. Then it did another flat bottom, double bottom break at 65. Why avoid this trend? To me, it's starting a trend underneath this flat bottom break. So I'm short underneath that until it tells me to do otherwise. And Fisker at $1 is a bit of a different story. It's just the $1 trade. So there is previous support. There is today's resistance on Fisker. Sometimes it's not that complicated at all. Canadian bacon stocks. You guys, ESPN lingo. Our ESPN lingo is awesome. Really? I like to think we call stuff better than ESPN. I'm not gonna name any names. I mean, I could. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of some of the ESPN. Anyways, I'm not gonna get too much into it. You guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Shout out to Skip Bayless. But Disney. And 93. This is the one today. I mean, obviously, I'm not talking about AMC, but 3% at the high of the day, continuing higher. It's going to close Obviously, anywhere close to its high is going to be good. But with 1 minute to go, this is just an absolute rocket ship to set upside. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It looks fantastic. Tom trades, laugh out loud. Neil hates Stephen A. I actually don't know. I don't hate Stephen A. I actually enjoy listening to Stephen A.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll disagree with him on certain sports. Like if he talks, he knows his basketball, but when he talks about like baseball, I'm like, no, Stephen, talk about something else. But no, it's more of a Skip thing. Not a huge fan of Skip Bayless. But less than 1 minute to go. Disney rocket ship should be something that we're paying attention to tomorrow. You want to be interested in things that close on the highs, show relative strength or relative weakness, and I think this one is definitely giving it to us. If you followed along with the rocket ship that was Funware, it gave multiple longs. It's going to give you 1.4 billion shares worth of volume, and it's going to close near the highs. That is the power of breakouts. That's the power of any of these penny stocks. Volume is going to be absolutely king. The fact that it held volume on that break was everything to this stock. I'm really hoping it does another billion tomorrow because I think there's going to be tradable levels. I know you guys will like to trade those. Get the camera off me. We got the countdown on. It's Tuesday in the holiday shortened week, but a fantastic day of trading. In 2 and 1, ring it. And, the NASDAQ just barely. I actually just see the NASDAQ down 0.01% at the close, and it just eked green a couple of seconds ago. The ES is going to close a little bit more firmly in the red, down 0.35%. As mentioned, Disney closed at the highs of the day. Super rocket ship there. A little bit of a down print at the end, but it closed pretty much at those highs. If you're looking at them chips, AMD does not buck the upward trend. 8% to the upside on AMD. Closing, looks like 158 change or something like that. But a huge, huge run for AMD today. Breaking out 151. Has 160 in sights. You go back, pull out your daily chart and zoom further back. 162 is going to be a big level. Cannot say enough about the ones and twos. We have Fabian and Ramin making us look and sound good pretty much all day long. Thank you for everything that you do there. And we had Sharif. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what I would be like if the Bills did what the Cowboys did, but Sharif came in, did his thing in the midday, gave you guys a lesson, talked a lot about momentum and the trend and how you can try to follow the trend, which I think is very, very important in trading. If you're fighting the trend, you can get yourself into trouble. So shout out to you, Sharif, and Adara as well for handling business on the midday. I'll keep coming in and giving my 2 cents. You'll get that real deal at 12 o'clock, but they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting and giving me some ideas to work off of as well when we do that. Shout out to Frank Caberna, was in the house as always, and a little bit of a pump. And a great interview as always by Brendan, keeping us abreast of the news. Like you saw what happened with Spirit. Like if you're not paying attention to the news, then you miss opportunities like Save. And Save, I mean, look, if you thought Funware gave you big opportunities, Save can be a day maker as well, as long as you see that news when it's coming through. You know what time it is. We already shouted out we're going to have the man, the myth, the VWAP, anchored VWAP trading and technical trading legend. Mr. Shannon is going to be on joining Sean. So you know who I am and you know where you're headed. It's a market recap. Let's get to the desk with Mr. Katina.
All right, let's go. Thank you for joining me here on the Market Recap Show. Traders stay late, and you're not late with me. So let's go, and let's go Packers, baby. What a great weekend it was all around. I was very, very lucky that I was home in time for the Packers game. I was pretty much missed all the other games, but yesterday was a fun day as well. Congratulations to the Bills. Congratulations to all the teams that won. But hey, this is a stock trading show, so let's go. We will have today for you a few names earnings. You can see there on the board. We have IBKR, and then I do want to discuss some bank earnings as the banks have been pulling back. Someone said wait for pullbacks in banks, and that potentially would be a downside push off earnings. Who was that somebody? All right, so it's a nice move there to the downside. I talked to my guy over here, Brendo, because his XLK that he likes today, one of 2 sectors green today. And the Qs were basically flat, but XLK as an ETF, of course, upside. Here's the Qs right now. On the daily is going to be the top chart. And good in the Packers stuff. Right there, 411, 412, trying to break up. There's XLK. I apologize. It's going to be hard to see this. I'm going to work on a bigger font for you. SMH right now, up that 1.6%. Led by, it's AMD, baby. Look at that move to the upside as they break that 150 and say, see you later. We got some talk about AMD coming up later. I'm going to ask Brian all about these names, man. Where are we looking? Interactive brokers right now. When it's out, we will have it for you. I have this right now. It's going to tell me when stocks report. We go like this. We go refresh. We start to load it up. Let's load this up. As soon as stocks start to move, we will have it for you. And also, this show brought to you by Benzinga Pro. As soon as I see news on here, I will get it for you. Uh-oh, it's out, baby. It's IBKR, Interactive Brokers, right here. Q4 2023 adjusted EPS. That's red. That's a miss. 152 versus 155. As we go back into the downside right now, as we try to get some energy for everybody here on this show. Interactive Brokers, Q4 customer accounts increased 23%. Oh yeah, bang. That's right. When we start this computer, I have to reload the bangs. Does that sound okay? IBKR right now. Let's just find out as I load up Stream Deck. You guys ever use Stream Deck? It's pretty fun to use. Look at IBKR. Down goes this giant, coming back into 85 and change right now. Come over to the screen quickly if we can. Fabian, $85. Watch out for the 200 period moving average, which is right here at 83. We'll look in and around $80 as right now IBKR, not much volume, but hey, this is the market recap show. We're also going to bring you earnings plays every single day. If you're looking for earnings, man, wait till you see the show. When it's AMD, when it's NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, we're here for you live every single day, and that's why we're doing it. All right, so XLK is here. XRT, the retail side of things. Again, man, disaster striking in some of these ETFs. Now, calm down. All right? There's going to be dip buy opportunities everywhere in this market. For me, just doing this show more often, I like ETFs because then you're not picking out individual names. But there's a name in the retail sector that your boy really likes that he's going to be buying on any dips. And I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about it. Then I'm going to tell you what it is. It's going to be 5, 4, shut up, Neil, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said Costco, give yourselves a big pat on the back, but look at Costco with double screen. Good job, Neil.
I knew it was going to be Costco.
Yeah, but the only thing that I didn't know that maybe you knew as well was Costco is breaking highs. The retail, yeah, it's at all-time highs right now. There's Costco right now at 685, taking out new highs. So with the retail ETF downside, look at this. Costco saying, what's up to all my French friends? Nipa. No thank you to the downside. That's probably not used properly. Shout out to all my French friends. Please tell me how to say that. Actually, my wife speaks French. I don't know why I just don't talk to her about it. You know what's a bad one today, Brendo? It's FXI. FXI is downside right now. It's the Chinese ETFs. Bad data across the world. Here right now for FXI, as we can see that one making moves to the downside. So again, we get IBKR, that misses a little bit right now as we are trying to alter this. We can do this after if you want. Brendan's helping me out right now. I want to say a big shout out to all of our guests coming through, and today's going to be the biggest and the baddest one as well. Mr. Brian Shannon's in the building. Okay, he's not in the building. He's on Zoom. I want to talk to him about it. You know what I really like? How about this one? We had our friend, Raider Trader. He talked about lithium. I actually really like the ETF, but looky what we see here with LIT coming through right now. This one is not lit. You hear that, Brian Shannon? That's what the young kids say these days. Man, this stock is lit, okay? But this one, lithium, I need a drink. Man, this should be vodka at this point. Okay. We're about. So I got a puncher's chance here. Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for saying. No, we're having a good time, man. Traders stay late, so let's keep going. Lithium downside moves. Again, as interest rates coming into play, we're gonna have to watch out for lithium. Expensive to pull that stuff out of the ground. You need money to do that. Lithium, nice downside move. But you know what else has been downside, man? We've talked about Tesla. Down, down, down. Shout out to Brian. I know you have some ideas. Maybe let's talk about Tesla. Why? Tesla on the weekly right now is at the 200 period moving average. It's also under the 50 period. And if you just go all the way back, we're back down to 2020 levels right now. So if you were in a cave for 4 years, might not have been a bad idea, but you are now looking at your Tesla position and saying, okay, now what? That's how I feel about Tesla. Let's get some opinions on what we're doing with Tesla. US oil today. Oh yeah, by the way, so UNG, very, very interesting. This is the thing about UNG. I haven't traded it that much ever in my life, nat gas. But what I'm learning more and more about this is forward looking more than any ETF, more than any commodity that I've ever seen in my life. Like people just predict what the weather is and they pile into UNG, they pile into oil, but then when things get flipped up, this is what happens. UNG today down 16% as it's trying to hit this 50 period moving average and trying to bounce off of it. Let's see if it can do that. Here's the run up, right? It was cold, man. The Midwest was freezing. I'm gonna ask my guy over here, Brian, what his temperatures are like. Here in Toronto, I tweeted it out, we got to minus 22. I believe it was Saturday night, something like that. That's Celsius, we aight. But look at UNG pulling back in today on now a forecast of lighter temperatures moving forward, which means they do not have to, again, fill up the supply that was just used over this past weekend. So UNG down a whopping 15%. No like. OIH down as well, oil pushing down. I heard today that the US struck the Houthis again there. So we're gonna have to watch out. I thought oil would go the other way on that kind of talk, but it is pulling back in again as right now OIH back down here to 284, 285. All right, let's just check in on IBKR real quick. We did have their earnings report come through. Nice bounce for Interactive Brokers down into $84, now retracing back up. If Brian comes on here and puts an anchored VWAP on IBKR and nails the bottom of this at $84, I'm out of here. That's the end of the recap show as I see him smiling in the wings. Brian has nailed for us, I believe it was NVIDIA, and it was one of the home, because he only comes on every Tuesday. I think it was KBH or Lennar, almost to the dollar on an anchored VWAP. So we can find out about it. IBKR, not a very heavy name for me to trade. So I'm not overly familiar with it. Here it is on Benzinga. We had Q4 earnings report today, obviously at 4 o'clock. 1.3% earnings missed estimates by 1.3%. Still got an EPS of 152 versus 154, so a little bit lower. Revenues appear up. So good on revenues, down on EPS. So top beats, bottom misses. We'll find out about IBKR and what we're looking at right now, but it is pushing back into $84. That's IBKR. All right, one name today, mRNA. It's Hydration Nation, baby. Moderna, a very interesting name. I actually did have a little bit of FOMO about this. Why? Because I believe in science. Now, whether or not, that doesn't necessarily mean that you just buy mRNA. Again, the technology is one thing, but I like the move back up to the upside. This is not a play on, we joked about this, COVID-24 or anything happening again. As I just heard Ramin sniffling beside me, and she denied it. But anyways, nice downside move. mRNA, I like it because they don't, I have a headache. They're working on cancer therapy as well. So you have to look out for that. I do think that's an important thing, obviously, as we work towards more technology in this space. And we've seen these GLP-1 drugs really take a hold of the whole market lately, man. Eli Lilly today, now I don't know if they got a bad report midday or what, but you could see Eli Lilly, me and Brendo were sitting here again talking about this because we're working on content for the podcast. And by the way, I want to thank everybody, man. Our podcast has been really popular, Great comments. I want to thank you a lot for that, man. Me and Brendan put through about an hour on that. It's real fun stuff. Maybe I can convince Brian to come on the podcast. He's been on a couple other ones, but often imitated, never duplicated, is Trader TV Live. But anyways, I really like Eli Lilly, and I feel like pulling back on this. I'm already long. I've taken some out. But again, maybe I missed a story, but something in here today, in and around 645, a nice pullback down to 635 and bouncing off some of these levels. So we'll have to watch out for Eli Lilly. All right, what else did we miss? We always like IWM as a possible trade for relative weakness. And again, the reason why we like this, when you're looking at NASDAQ and you're looking at some of these other names, right? They're pushing or near all-time highs. Even the SPX, I know we've pulled back on bank earnings, right? But there's not too much relative weakness out there. If you believe that rates are indeed going to come down, which they are, the Fed has definitely hinted at that, not hinted at it, flat out told us that the rate cycle is here now for a downside move. But are they cutting 6 times? Now we'll talk about that. I know the CME Fed rate tool has changed over the last little while, but if you believe that rates are indeed coming down, I would look over here. Let's look at the IWM chart real quick. Again, small cap names will benefit from a lower rate environment. Not only that, you know which companies get it bought out more than others? Smaller known names. These names will be in the IWM. And again, if M&A talk is what we're going to be talking about, then I would look to buy some weakness in IWM. This is a weekly. Let's just look at a daily, because you guys know the support on what I like to buy is actually, you know what, Brendo? I may start to buy IWM almost immediately, because we're pulling back into 186, 185. These are good levels for IWM, because the thing is, if you don't dip said toes into the water, sure, you might lose your big toe from all the sharks, but then you've got another one plus 9 more. So we'll see what happens here if we get bid off on IWM. All right, man. I'm not keeping guests like this for any longer. It's just not going to happen. It's Brian Shannon. He's ready, and it's Trader Talk. Let's bring him in. Hello, Brian. How are you doing, my friend?
Good afternoon, Sean. Doing well.
Good,
Some
good.
good trades I saw you had there today on the short side.
Oh man, that was a good one on the short today. I don't know what gave me that feeling. You know what it is, Brian, actually, and I don't have the sticky note here, but I had Apple written down as the #1 idea for the short. Whenever I hear sort of negative stories about Apple, and then in the pre-market, I can see the bigger traders are starting to sell it even in the pre-market. To me, that's kind of like a bellwether, obviously, and we all know why. So I tend to do that. Is there anything in the pre-market, maybe this morning, or something that you do in your routine that might have hinted for some of these downside moves that we got on some names?
Yeah, when I look at the pre-market, I don't really look to get involved, and I know you don't really trade
Right.
pre-market. The only thing I really tend to do in terms of activity is if things are bidding up that I'm long, I like to sell into those, because it's usually emotional money kind of chasing things.
I like
At least take a little bit off, and they end up being highs of the day that don't show up on the daily chart. But my routine is just to kind of look at the futures, see what they're doing, see if they're coming down any key levels, such as today. I mean, we nailed it perfectly. Again, the year-to-date anchor in the S&P 500 futures. So we're kind of, we've seen resistance at that anchor for the first week of the year. Then last week we touched it. Today we're touching it again as support. I think we're still kind of indecisive within an overall uptrend in the market.
I know we weren't sharing your screen there, but the reason why is I want to quickly, we're going to go back to that anchored view up in 1 second.
Yeah.
You nailed something there that we talk about often on the show, because I'm, a hot-headed Italian, and I trade a lot of the time with emotion. You just mentioned emotion there. And in the pre-market, sometimes you like to fade some of your longs into those buyers that are sort of ramping it up because they're overly excited about what could possibly hit. I find my worst trades, actually, Brian, are the ones that I'm emotionally connected to. Like today, I feel like I did really good. And let me actually sort of toot my own horn on my worst trade of the day right now. Come over to my screen real quickly here, guys. I want to show Brian something. So we had written down that we were really excited to trade some AMD today. The purple marks are the shorts, okay? As soon as it broke above this 151, that was really where we wanted to start the short. We took a little bit out, but then it just started going. I tried it one more time and then really got out of it for what turned out to be a relatively small hit. But look at this, Brian. Normally, I'm like, nah, it's going to stop here. We get a little bit of a pullback. Oh my God, I got to get in. And then I was like, oh my God, I got to get in here and I got to get it. Like, I've generally ruined my month or my week just by continuously shorting. But I was really proud today. Why? Because I let it go all the way up there to 160. And if you come over here, I actually didn't get involved until finally 160. That might have been a mistake, but I really like getting involved the second time because, again, we finally had a top that we liked and then right into there a little bit. For me, I call this barcoding. So I was wondering if you could give me a little bit of an idea there on AMD and NVIDIA and stuff that we can look at in the semi sector, because really it was the only sector that was up. It was the SMH and the semis.
Yeah, the SMH made a new all-time high by a full $1 today before pulling back a little bit. But yeah, AMD was clearly the leader. NVIDIA continues to rally. There's NVIDIA, AMD. And what, here's something really pretty cool, Sean, is that we gapped up, we pulled back to the daily VWAP, and then just rocketed higher. Right. Touched it here again, and then a little bit of a shakeout. And that's something I look for a lot, is when we come down later in the day and this trend is really strong, it brings in a lot of short sellers. And as it gets back above there, those guys get trapped and then squeezed into the close, as we saw. So real impressive strength in the semis. And one, if you don't have exposure to the semis, for tomorrow, I like Micron. I think Micron can start to catch up a little bit here. It's been stuck just in this little bit of a range. And here on the right, on that 30-minute time frame, let's clean all that crap up. On the left, we see the rising 20-day moving average, 50, etc. We're clearly in an uptrend. We are back above the anchor from this gap, the anchor from the high. So I'm looking really getting back above that level with a stop maybe even as low as right here, or as high as right here. Give it a little bit more room down here, but I think Micron has the ability to continue to move higher, and there's no earnings problem there. They're not out till March 6th, so those will look pretty good.
Yeah, no, is that something that, so I like to do that as well. Like today I actually went over and I shorted Intel because I noticed that it was weaker like that. So I kind of do like your look a little bit there on Micron. Okay, a little bit of talk here as, again, you've got so many great ideas. I do want to throw it back to you for a few more, but Tesla, I mean, honestly, I did that work, and I know you and I have talked about this. We've had Daniel Shea on before to talk a little bit about always to talk about the options as well. This is a name that I like, but I'm trying to throw in the towel a little bit because, like you mentioned there, well, you didn't mention it for Tesla, but we're under the 200, we're under the 50, and I said on the show today that I thought we could get up to 280 before year end. We didn't. We noticed relative weakness. Again, if Amazon, NVIDIA, AMD, Microsoft, Apple, they're all trying to push highs. Meanwhile, Tesla's going the other way. Do you have some kind of a VWAP that we can look at? Because Brian, for me, I like the story. I like the full self-drive. I like the story with Uber. And honestly, convince me not to buy this thing in and around 205, 206, because that's where I'm looking just as a simple mind like me. We got some nice dip buy opportunities here. It coincides back in April where we sort of had a top, gave it up. Then once we broke, we really ripped up to those 52-week highs. We supported it again down here at 2 bills. Am I crazy to think about a long here, or do we got to let this thing settle down even more?
No, I think that you're absolutely in a perfect place to start thinking about the long. And that is the anchored VWAP from the low of 2023. Okay. Looking at this weekly chart, that's that thick blue line right there. And you can see that it wasn't perfect all last year, but we found buyers in that area. And here we are finally down to it once again. So that, we've cut through every level of what was supposed to be support, crushing the dip buyers who buy the pullback to the 20-day moving average, buy the pullback to the 50-day moving average, buy the pullback to the 200-day moving average. That's why I always look at it and say, we don't buy because we are, when we're below declining 5-day moving average. So the 5-day moving average is still declining here, Sean, but we've come down and tested that anchor. And I kind of hope we don't get 205 because I think that will do too much damage in here. Instead, maybe, we do something like this, and the next couple days we see that 5-day moving average flatten out. Then I think you're in a good position where you can say, okay, that is now the level I want to put my stop against. We bounced hard from that right on the open this morning. So that's a good sign. Let's see how it settles in the next day or two. But I think there could be a pretty decent bounce play coming in Tesla, pretty close to right here.
I actually just did the work as well there on Tesla. Earnings is the 24th of January. So like, can you believe what I was looking down to, it's the 16th. Am I even right on that? Or is it the 17th? Again, all these holidays got me confused. The 16th already of January.
Yeah,
am I alone, Brian?
Weeks, right?
Or has this just gone? Like what? Like I was thinking about Christmas. I bought all my family your VWAP book. They absolutely love it. So that's fantastic. But are you a fan of hockey at all?
Oh man, I'm talking to a Canadian here. I know what I'm supposed to say.
Okay, good, because I want to show you something. Watch my daughter here, by the way. I am so proud of this because I just want to show you. So she's 9 years old. Watch this. This is called, so she's taking a penalty shot here. Here she goes. I have no idea how she knows how to loop around like this, as if she's like Austin Matthews. Then she goes bang, bang, right there to the top. And then here's the celebration. It gets cut off. A couple clotheslines in there and everything like that. So anyways, I know that both you and I are very, very proud of our families and whatnot, so I just wanted to show that.
That's a great play. No, thanks for sharing. That's awesome.
Yeah, so anyways, I don't know. I have no idea why I just did that, Brian, but I did it. And
because you're proud, Sean, and you should be.
Thank you so much. And it does mean a lot to me. I'm going to get emotional on it, but so we'll pass on that. Is there any other ideas, maybe something that we've talked a little bit about Tesla and AMD. You and I went back and forth a little bit about Micron there right now. We've talked about the market pulling back a little bit, you and I, earlier on a few other shows. Is there anything specific, or can I ask you one more question, unless there's something you want to talk about?
Go for it, yeah.
All right, so I feel that people are very, very excited about the XLF. I haven't been happy with some of these bank earnings. We've seen BAC, and I'll just keep going on and I'll let you just get all set up a little bit. We've seen BAC really pull back from 35 bucks, man, into 32, and not a nice move. Almost 10% down over the last week for BAC. Today we see Morgan Stanley getting absolutely pumped. Was not expecting a 5% move on Morgan, and that's come all the way back down to 85. Very, very similar. JP Morgan's holding the top. Goldman Sachs today, upside. This one's holding out, which is a little strange to me. But let's talk about maybe the sectors, because we talk about sectors here. XLF, I'm not sure this is the best ETF, Brian, to look at here. But this isn't pulling back that much. And you know why? Because 17% of it is JP Morgan. So are we in trouble with the banks at all? Or am I just sort of getting a little too worried? Maybe they just outperformed heading into earnings season. We've seen that happen a lot.
Yeah, I think that it might be, Sean, a little bit of buy the rumor, sell the news here, and we started with that today. These things got pretty stretched from 31 to 38. I mean, 7 points on these banks. That's a big move. And here's a couple of things. The anchor from this gap right here would bring us down to about 36.5. That could occur in the next day or two, and then we've also got this 50-day moving average coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see 36.5, $36.20 or so. When we look at the shorter term time frame, I'm kind of looking at this of the last, so from the beginning of the year, that we've undergone some distribution. We've broken below that. Now if we're below 37.50, I think you look at the intermediate term as guilty till proven innocent, that this support right in here was broken. And now if it continues to hold as resistance, with that declining 5-day moving average, I think you've got to let these things settle down before you think about buying them again. They've got a little bit of profit taking to undergo, it looks like.
Here it is. Brian, you just said something that was, in my opinion, the best part of the book. And I'm just being honest. You said guilty until proven innocent. That was your whole thing about if you're above or below the anchored VWAP. They has to prove it. Let us see what's good. It's not about buying the dips. It's not about catching a falling knife into VWAP or anything. Watch the action around it, and that's what will give you the good stuff. It's maximum trading gains with anchored VWAP. It's Brian Shannon, and I want to make sure to thank you personally, obviously, for continuously coming on the show. It really means a lot to myself. I learn a lot from you as well, and I feel like you're a fantastic follow at Alpha Trends over there on X and on Twitter, or both, X, I guess, as we'll get that changed, because I still see it as we have a little birdie there. Okay, Brian, thank you so much. I got a little bit more to do on the rundown. I want to thank you for joining me. It's Brian Shannon.
Thank you, Sean.
Ciao, my friend. See you. Have a great evening. That's Brian Shannon. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Brian. And look, man, I wouldn't be able to do the show without all the fantastic guests that we continue to have. So a big shout out to Brian. Go make sure you follow him at Alpha Trends. And just type in Brian Shannon. Again, another dude that's often imitated, never duplicated. Sometimes I type it in. It's like Alpha Trends 1. Nah, just go find the real one, man. We're following each other. Go find that. So this next thing is Sean's tweets. Well, my favorite tweet of the weekend. We've already talked about it. We just did it right there. This goal, I still can't get enough of it. I'm over the moon with her, and I'm so proud of everything that she's been doing. But you know what's been interesting to me is this. Look at this one, man. The valuation gap right now with China. So every day I'm going to try to show you tweets that I think can change the game for you. All right? Not just random stuff here. Oh, this is the trade, this is that. Because you know what I'm sick and tired of, really? First of all, let's do this and I'll go on another rant. Okay, Chinese stocks have fallen to their cheapest valuation since 2010 relative to the S&P. Look at this thing, man. Like, here's 2010 all the way over here. We are now, wait a minute, blue line is MSCI China. Okay, so it feels like we're getting close, and it's relative volume. Oh, it's relative. Okay, so I was gonna say we've been down here before, but it's this move, the dispersion right now in between the two. So as the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 continue to go up, look at India right now, man. India really eating China's lunch right now. So you have to look at big major economic powers, right? The population is there. India right now outperforming China on this index. This is MSCI. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. If you think, and I kind of think a lot of the China stuff is a little bit fugazi, meaning it's a little bit like people getting excited, means fake, but a little bit of like excitement about China into an election year. Alibaba today broke 70. I just wonder if it's time to maybe buy something. You could buy MSCI China. I like, who's ringing me up right now? 416, I won't say the number, I have no idea who it is. Okay, I'm doing a show, man, take it easy. Okay, the other one that I want to talk about right now is just quickly here. No, we're not going anywhere yet, baby. All right, just quickly here. We got a little bit more to do. We're going soon. Don't worry. But okay, I just want to talk about this because last year we talked about some things that could be laggers. We had So Creative, my guy over there, Raider Trader. I thought he was going to come up with a big name, Mag 7. He called them the Lag 7. And I think the reason why this year, I don't think it's rocket science. A lot of the trades that are overly popular can lag because it's just like groupthink. It's overly functioning to one side. Last year, information technology and consumer services. Again, this has Google in it, Meta in it. We don't need to talk about IT as well. Tesla and consumer discretionary as they all fall down. But look at utilities right now. I just feel like as dividends come back into play, these utilities, again, with rates coming back in. So I basically just tweeted right here, so buy the XLU. You know, these utilities are nice downside. And if we're going to look at the XLU just real quickly here, look what this has done since the new year as well, right? Now everything's pulling back. But again, from these October bottoms, we went 55 to 65 and then stopped basically right here. When I say things that have been working will continue to work, we've seen that. We talked about that on the podcast. AMD, NVIDIA, I mean, those are at all-time highs. So those, NVIDIA pull back. So those continue to work, right? Why not look to something that hasn't been working that could moving forward, possibly the utilities sector? Okay, those are a couple tweets I want to talk about. There's so much more, but we are running out of time. Just real quickly, one more note here. I said this to Brian, and that is that if you're not confident in your trades, then you're really not, and by the way, we are also live on X. Shout out to the 18 viewers that are watching us right now on X. Huh? It's just there, man. It's just there. It's just Stan. What did you just say? I have no idea what this guy's talking about. Okay, so right now, just real quickly, man, if you're looking for early morning tweets, I don't have enough time to talk about these today, but we thought that Apple, we talked about China worries, right? China is such a huge factor for Apple. Selling, I think it's 20-something% of pretty much all of their wearables, the iPhone, all of that being sold there in China. So as that economy gets a little bit depressed, we do worry about China. So for me, right away, immediately, was Apple short, right? So if we come over here, and you could see, I have to be careful what I say because we've talked about this on the main show. Not everybody trades Apple or anything like that. So I do have to watch out for this, but this was the biggest trade. So I can say it now, the show's over. This was the biggest trade here today, shorting into here, and we were just so confident. And again, sometimes we're confident it doesn't work out for us, but today on Apple, just into here, man. It made this high, and we just kept shorting against 182.60. So a bunch of outs, a bunch of shorts, and then it just started pay dirt, man. We came in into 181. So when you're short 182.50 and getting out at 181, and it's early on, that's going to be a good trade. We did short again until we were wrong, but Apple does pull it back. And then again, the proudness for me was being able to get out of the way for AMD. Then we shorted it again at 160, which was huge for us. We tried the Microsoft long. That was relatively strong today until it fell off. That didn't work. Alibaba, man, the short was a monster for us today on Alibaba. But think about the names that I just mentioned to you. Alibaba and Apple, they're both on the sticky note for the exact same reason. It was China weakness. And here's Alibaba. We really did well. Again, I apologize for some of these wicks on the chart, but here is the short earlier into 70. We shorted it off the 200 period and then boom to the downside. This was a very, very big trade for us. Look, no matter where you are in this world. Let me check on IBKR one more time before we go, because there was only really one earnings play today, and it was IBKR. So IBKR, and then we got to go. Let's just, IBKR down to $84. Forgot to ask Brian Shannon about that one, but IBKR continues to make a move down. Look, thank you so much, man. We talk about staying late. So those of you that did stay late, you're like, hey, man, he's missing something. No, I ain't. It's roll call, baby. Let's go. All right, one more chance for anybody to say hi to me in roll call. I want to do a big thank you to everybody that's watching, man. Still 1,900. I say thank you so much. As traders stay late, and if you are staying late, then you're a real one. So I got to say shout out to you guys. So let's go right now. Hey, Distant Identity. I've never seen you in here. You've been... Oh, where's the screen? There it is. You've been a distant identity. So thank you so much for coming through. What's up to Tom Trades? Thank you for subscribing. Streamlab says, what's up to Andrew Chow? What's up to Matt Carnes? You're always here. Bella Westy, a new one. What's up? Pavel, a new one. What's up? Anybody new? I'm going to say what's up. Oh, now we're starting to go. Mason Morris is in the building. What's up, Mason? What's up, Zion, man? You're always here. Shout out to Zion. Lala's here. You love this show. Thank you so much, David. Mad respect to you for watching. Thank you so much to everybody. Some burgers and fries in there. We like that. Thank you so much. Send them to the show. Thank you, Mr. Westermeyer. Thank you so much. You've always been here for us as well. Go Lions. I say go Lions as well, man. Shout out to the Detroit Lions. I hope you all the best until you lose to the best team in the NFC North. It's the Green Bay Packers, baby. We really like the NFL. What's up, Jonathan Torres? He says he's a new guy, so I say shout out to you. Jonathan Torres, that is famous Canadian actor who did... crap, he was in Trailer Park Boys. I forget his name. Anyways, you can look that up. Anyways, what's up, Henry Chung? You are welcome. Huh? Is it Bubbles? No, it's not Bubbles. It's the other guy, man. It's the guy that was the white rapper. Oh, what's his name? Jonathan Torres. I'll have to look it up anyways. What's up to everybody? Okay, yo, you're new. I can't shout out everybody that's new, but Jeff DeRoca, you got me before I log out. All right, look, man, we've been trading for 22 years. We're putting the show on live for you every single day. So catch the best trading show every single day at 8:30. It's Trader TV Live. Make sure you hit the like and the subscribe. We trade live for you all day. We educate. Hopefully we entertain. We've got the recap show. We've got the podcast. We've got Twitter. We've got X. We don't got TikTok. We got everything else. Go find us immediately. Thank you so much for joining. I'll be back tomorrow, 8:30. Check you then. Ciao, everybody.